thinks I'm a little lazy, I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired, shooting out the damn street lights. How does she put up with me? Oh, baby, we got our own thing. We got our own thing. We don't need no rain. We ain't rich, but son of a, we're a hillbilly king and queen. Life don't seem so hard with you beneath the stars, 'cause we're growing four-leaf clovers in the yard.
There ain't nothing that he can't fix. He's a hard-headed son of a. We got married on the Georgian line. Watch out, ladies, this one is mine. He works hard and just don't quit, even if.
I live down.
to stand up strong, think the truth about themselves, to understand what went wrong. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way to stand up, stand up, stand up.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am James Hake, filling in once again for Jesse Lee Peterson on the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, along with Hassan and American Anchor Baby. That's Nick. JLP is out of town, as some of you may already know, for about a week or so. He should be back Tuesday, I believe, next Tuesday. But in the meantime, we're having some guest hosts. You can call in. We're going to read your super chats as normal. We have a guest coming up for you, Bill Lockwood, and of course, some replays, throwbacks. Let me know when Bill's ready, by the way. We have throwbacks that we will be playing of JLP, Jesse Lee Peterson, from back when I was producer. Did you know that I was producer at one time of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show? We had fun yesterday. Had some good calls, or at least one good call. I forget if we had two. But anyway, some of you guys are already on hold. Hang tight, callers. This is the last Tuesday of the month. It is White History Month, by the way. July just feels white. But the last Tuesday is the smartest white man on this side of heaven, right? Bill Lockwood.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. What an honor. I'm happy.
Well, it's my privilege.
Yeah. JLP is out of town. He says hi.
Okay.
Says hello to you. And he says happy White History Month as well.
Okay, very good. Well, it's good to hear from him through you.
Yeah. You wanted to talk about the question. What did you tell us what you wanted to talk about? I know what it is. I just want you to present it.
Well, I just threw it out there as an option. I'm very concerned about the American family, as Jesse has always been, and what of course has actually been taking place for the last 45, 50 years is now becoming reality, and that is where the government becomes the father of the children, and the government now believes that education is, of course, theirs, right, and that the parental rights stop at the threshold of the school door. So consequently, we are seeing huge problems in schools, and this is traceable back to the socialistic worldview, where parents do not own their children, but it becomes government.
How many decades did you teach since you were in the education world?
Well, let's see. I taught 2 decades. My mother was a teacher also. My wife was a teacher for 3 decades. So I've been in the school system for a long time. And I want to say immediately up front, there are a lot of great teachers and a lot of great people in the school system, but it's almost like we're talking like the military. There are a lot of great people in the military, but the top brass in the military has committed us to projects that really are unconstitutional, and a lot of nonsensical ideas, such as gender transition in the military and quotas, racial quotas, and so forth. So the same thing is the case in education. So a lot of good teachers at the bottom. However, there are a lot of people, and more that are being pumped out from the universities. They're sold on a socialistic worldview,
right,
whereby the schools own the children, not the parents.
Yeah, and that's kind of insane, because you see these young people, and they look like kids themselves to me now, because I'm
Yeah.
in my 40s now, and they're just young, dumb, and brainwashed, and they're feeling the need to brainwash the children about racism and the LGBT stuff. I don't know if you've been on Twitter much, but there's this account called Libs of TikTok, And this gal, she's a Jewish gal. She exposes these like preschool and 2nd and 5th grade teachers who are from the so-called LGBT mindset, and they're passing that brainwashing down on the kids, and they feel justified doing it. They feel like they're doing the right thing, I guess.
Right. Well, they do. The Bible teaches, I'll kind of back up to the Bible here for a moment. The Bible teaches that children are a heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. That is to parents, and it is given to parents, for example, in Ephesians chapter 5, as well as Colossians 3, given to parents to rear the children. So fathers, don't provoke your children, that they be not discouraged. And so we have fathers, mothers that are managing and rearing their children. And that's the way it was, not only in Jesus's day, but that's of course the mandate from the Bible, going back to Genesis chapter 2. But socialism, James, is a repudiation of the biblical worldview. So Karl Marx called himself a scientific socialist, which meant that he was actually hooking into Charles Darwin's evolutionary concept of the origin of man. And same thing regarding Friedrich Engels. And Friedrich Engels wrote a book in 1884. You're probably familiar with it, but it's about the origin of the family and the origin of the state. And he tells basically that his vision, number one, very, very vitriolic against the Bible and the concept of a family, but they were very, Marx and Engels, as well as other socialists, are very, very antagonistic to the family unit. They did not believe that the family ought to be able to be the controlling factor of children. The children do not belong to the family. So Engels even said that he suggested that there are, we might call them herders, that is, people appointed in society to herd the children, and everybody else produce them, and then turn them over to these herders that are government controlled. They're government controlled, and that's how they're going to bring the children up. Because after all, the family was created by covetous men who wanted to pass their inheritance down to their descendants. And that's how they put it. It was invented by covetous men to pass down their inheritance to their family members. And so they created the family to keep their inheritance all in the family. It was all about money. And that's how the family was created. So Spargo and Arner wrote a book called The Elements of Socialism about the turn of the last century. It's great. It's a great unedifying read, but it does spell out exactly that. That okay, the family was created by man. It's not God-centered institution, and that's the communistic socialistic worldview. Socialism. They call themselves socialists. So William Z. Foster was the head of the Communist Party in America. And he testified even in Congress to the same effect, basically saying that the family is a man-created institution, and what we need is the government to control children and through the educational system. And that's exactly what's taking place. And so we're now seeing the fruition of that worldview.
Man, talk about projection, because their whole government is man playing God. Their whole idea, like family, tends to be pretty natural. It just happens. Well, I mean, not only Foster but others. And here's another one. Hillary Clinton. She has a socialistic worldview, and her book, It Takes a Village. Now, people think, well, okay, yeah, we need our grandmothers and our grandfathers and our aunts and uncles, all of us to help. That's not the village that she had in mind. Yeah. And she spells it out for us in a family. It was actually a family law and rights. It was called the Second World Congress on Family Law and Rights of Children and Youth in San Francisco. And she spells out plainly, this was many years ago, she spells out that she intends, and what her intention or her concept was, that government is responsible. So the government is that which the entity that raises children. Yeah. That's why we have the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which I think sits in San Francisco, in 2005, said the rights of parents stop at the threshold of the school. Wow.
Yeah. And that's where we are.
I remember hearing about the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals coming up with all kinds of insane decisions, evil decisions.
Yes, that's right. A lot of evil. That's right.
You know, Kamala Harris recently gave a speech in reaction to Florida, the state of Florida. DeSantis and the legislators over there in the state signed into law a balanced approach to the teaching about slavery history in America, wherein they said that slaves were taught useful skills and that violence was perpetrated not just against blacks, but by black Americans. They called them African Americans. But
Right.
That sounds to me like it would be common sense that that's true, and that children should know that it wasn't just pure evil slaveholders and pure innocent slaves. There
Right.
was a mutual benefit there, and there were. When I was taught in school, I learned that there were good and bad slave owners, and
Right.
it's pretty obvious that there would be good and bad slaves. But this woman, Kamala Harris, spoke before apparently like a black crowd, and she tweeted it out on her VP account, Vice President, saying that it involved rape and torture and taking babies from mothers. And I don't know what age she deems a baby.
Yeah.
but
Good
it's just that sense of control and pushing lies and anger on and
Right.
fear and false guilt on kids over something that she shouldn't even. Nobody alive today should even really be upset about slavery. It's so far in the past, and I don't think it's really what they told us.
No, so there are a lot of things there that are coming into play. First of all, that has to be the narrative that continues on. They have to keep the minority population angry about something. You have to keep them angry. So it doesn't matter whether slavery is eliminated in this country or not, or whether Jim Crow laws are eliminated or not. You have to keep people angry about it. And so they keep beating the drum. Number two, they continue to misread history purposefully, because as you said, James, that is a skewed vision of history. That's not exactly how history worked out. For example, there are many blacks who fought in the Confederate Army.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
how is that the case? So not only did they fight in the Confederate Army, but many of the blacks stayed right there on the plantations after they were freed. Well, how was that the case? Why was that the case? Well, because simply they were not mistreated to the extent that Kamala Harris says they were.
Yeah.
Now, no one's justifying slavery, but the Bible is pretty clear about how we should handle it. And the Bible teaches in Colossians chapter 3, for example, that slaves are to be in subjection to their own masters. And Paul tells them that they're to do this, but so people say, well, does the Bible justify slavery? No, that's not the point. The point is that Christianity does not come to institutions with a social institution with a sledgehammer. It actually permeates from the inside out and eradicates slavery over a period of time.
Right.
And that's exactly what Paul wanted and the apostles wanted. So Christianity tells people that they are to be obedient in the situation they are. Paul even tells slaves in that passage in Colossians 3 that whatever you do, work heartily as unto the Lord. For it is to the Lord that you receive the recompense of the inheritance. So the point is simply that Christianity eliminated slavery by the permeation of its principles in the heart of men. But so no one's justifying slavery, but at the same time, they want to skew it, and they misread it purposely, misteach it in order that people might be angry and continue to be angry right here in this country.
You know, on my show, which airs right after JLP, I played this clip, and I don't know who it was, but it was a historic black and white video footage of this black man, somewhat heavy set, who says that he was trained as a communist in Russia, and that he would go in and stir up trouble about maybe a young black man, maybe underage boy, who was shot and killed here in America at a store while he was trying to steal or something like that. And the communists stirred up trouble and stirred up a race riot. And he said that they would sometimes, in other instances, purposely be so-called non-violent protesting, but trying to get under the skin of whites to provoke them to overreact and become violent towards the blacks so that they could have the, stirring up anger on both sides and evil on both sides. And when you have two devils fighting, evil wins.
That's an interesting story because it parallels a similar story to, I heard a speaker many years ago, and people probably know of him as Tony Evans. And Tony Evans was a Black Panther, and he hijacked a plane and took it down to Cuba because he was so angry about what was going on in this country. And so I think that was back in the 1960s. So he went down to Cuba because that's Castro's paradise. And so, but he said the first thing they did, I heard him speak, he said they threw me in prison with a bunch of other people. I mean, this huge cell. He said we had to use a toilet right in the middle of the room. And everybody's sitting there watching. And he said he stayed there for a long time. Now, I don't remember the details how he got back, but he said when he came back to America, he said he got off the plane. And the first thing he did was he reached down and he kissed the ground. He said, you know what? This is the best nation in the world. And his lesson was that communism, such as represented by the Castros of the world, or Lenin, Stalin, and all the Khrushchevs of the world, and Andropovs that were in Russia, they utilize race as a natural division and drive the wedge in order to create chaos in our society.
Yeah.
And he said, that's exactly what they always do. So anything that I've ever read regarding communism, that's one of the plans. Even Vladimir Lenin said it out. He says, America has a natural fissure, a natural division, and that is race. And what we need to do is take that wedge and start pounding on that wedge. So that keeps everything to the boiling point. And that's their intention. That's how they're going to gain power in this nation, because it's all about power. So Tony Evans found that out. It was not about, we love the black people. No. They want power.
Yeah.
And so they're using the blacks to do that.
It reminds me of the story of Brittany Griner, the WNBA quote unquote star who was jailed in Russia for being loaded up with drugs, allegedly. And she used to protest the national anthem and think it shouldn't be played because she supported Black Lives Matter. And probably she's still off the deep end liberal, she's a mess.
Right.
But she said when she came back, the national anthem hit different, meaning she likes it a little bit better now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If she had been treated over there like Tony Evans had been, and if she had her eyes opened a little bit more clearly, because we have a government now that is basically socialistic. I mean, we're all socialists in America. Joe Biden's basically a socialist, and that's what so if she had a little bit more clear view about what's going on, like back in the 60s, people like Tony Evans and Eldridge Cleaver, those guys, they had their eyes open more clearly because we had a lot of more freedom fighters in America, but our government now is socialistic.
Yeah, that's for sure. You talked about the natural fissures in society because black and white, Satan feeds the suspicions. Oh, it's just because I'm black. Oh, it's just because I'm white. He's treating me this way. And that Satan already feeds the suspicions and divisions of families and people of the same race. When you add in the extra temptation of all this diversity and you feed this imaginary racism thing, smear against the whites, you're only setting up for human nature to do its evil in a diverse society. It's terrible.
Well, we do. That's exactly right, James. I mean, as a matter of fact, communism is all about everything's driven by the financing, everything's driven by money and covetousness, and so everything is seen through that lens. And the same thing is the case now. That's what neo-Marxism is. Neo-Marxism is everything driven by the lens of race. And so if everything's driven by the lens of race, then they're going to paint everything that way. So if you're a white person, you're automatically racist. And that's how they paint it, because everything is seen by the lens of race. Just as Vladimir Lenin said, everything is decided by the financing that you have, and whether you're an owner or you're a worker, you're
Right.
either bourgeoisie or you're a proletariat, and that's everything decided that way. Now the same thing regarding race, and that's exactly how they paint it.
And in reality, it's good versus evil. And that's like a battle that happens inside of each person. It's not necessarily one person is good and the other person is evil. They're both evil, fighting each other when they should be looking within and repenting.
That's exactly right. And that's interesting because the Bible is the only book that gives us insight into human nature. And that's what Jesus intended by, he said, be wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. How are we to be wise as serpents? We have to be able to recognize human nature and what drives a person. What are the motivating factors that move individuals? And the answer is, of course, that, as you pointed out, evil, covetousness, desire, but all of those things are part of the makeup of human nature. And our founding fathers are very clear about it. They said, human nature is made up of sunshine and shadow. And there's some sunshine there, but there's a lot of shadow, and we have to be able to recognize it and fight against it. But if we're just going to be taught, socialism and neo-Marxism, which is everything's decided by race, well, we've lost the battle already.
Yeah. Going back to the children, do they belong to the parents or to the government? As you mentioned, in the Bible, it sounds like God is putting the children on loan to the parents. Like, really, they belong to God.
That is exactly right. They're God's children. I like the way you put that. God gives them on loan to parents.
Yeah.
But the government says, no, they're given to us, and God's not in the picture, and they belong to the government, and the government gives them to parents for a few years until they come to the school. And so the earlier they get them, the better.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly their viewpoint. Their viewpoint is not that. So the constitutional, which is a God-centered viewpoint, is that the government is simply gives protective custody to people that we might enjoy the rights that God gave us. And the schools or educational institutions actually are an extension of the family.
Whoa.
That's the important link here. But the government doesn't see it that way. That was the danger of taking education all the way to Washington, D.C., because now the viewpoint of the socialist in charge and the government entities is that, no, the schools are extensions of the government. Right. Well, no, that's not the constitutional and the biblical viewpoint. The biblical viewpoint is the schools are the extension of the family. And the family controls it, and the fathers in the home control it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the way it's supposed to be.
Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. And now they want to do universal preschool and universal free child care. They're just wolves in sheep's clothing, acting like they're saving these women from these children so that they can go out and work. What a mess.
Right, that's exactly right. That's their viewpoint. The schools belong to the government. They're extensions of government. And so you as a parent, we're going to let you have your child for a few years. And then when you bring that child to the schoolhouse, that's it. That's what the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said. Your rights stop. So right now, what we're seeing in our country is are huge fights at school board meetings. Well, where do they come from?
Right.
Because that's the mentality of school boards as well as the universities, the professorships, the schools. They say, no, that our children, we'll educate them, we'll tell you what the curriculum is going to be, and you shut your mouth.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. I forgot all about those fights at those school board meetings, and that came about mainly because the parents were so uninvolved in their children's lives, it seems like, that the blessing in disguise of the, in my opinion, communist shutdowns and overreaction to the China virus, a lot of kids were at home and they were doing school by Zoom or Skype or something, and the parents were realizing what nutcases these teachers are now more than ever.
Right,
wow.
and that's right. And the teachers, many of them, as they're being pumped out of the universities, are nutcases in the sense that, and to the degree that they believe that children belong to the government and they're the government school and that the children belong to them.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. So if parents come one step in there and say, hey, I don't like what you're saying, well, who are you? You are simply the caretaker for a few years that the government allowed you to have your kid.
Wow.
But this is mine now.
Yeah, and we're seeing cases in which mothers, in some cases, are not even the blood mothers, taking the children from the fathers and transitioning them into being transgender and non-binary and all these crazy things. And the teachers,
Right.
too, undermining, sneaking around the parents, helping them get abortions, helping them get fake opposite sex names.
Yeah.
And all kinds of sneaky, snaky things, acting like they're saving the children from the abusive parent.
That's it. That's what's a matter of fact in Washington State, I think, and also in Oregon. That's exactly the school's viewpoint, and that is that the schools may give reassign gender. They may give them a gender affirming care in the sense of drugs, and even, in my understanding, even to the point of surgeries.
Wow.
And they don't have to have parental permission for these things. And all that started several years ago when they began to hand out, things like such as condoms in schools, and they didn't want parents to know about it. They don't care about that. But that's exactly where we are.
That was decades ago. I remember they were talking about free condoms when Jesse Lee first started Bond, his nonprofit organization. He would criticize, there were pastors who were involved in passing out free condoms at their churches here in Los Angeles, black pastors. It was wild.
And that's crazy. Now, see, that the whole mentality is just seeped into even the churches.
Yeah.
That is so offbeat, is so unbiblical, so ungodly.
Right.
But, but basically the viewpoint comes from the kids don't belong to parents. The kids belong to the government. They belong to all of us. And that's what Joe Biden said. Matter of fact, a year ago said, the children belong to all of us. Yeah. And that's what Jean-Claude Pierre says too. The children belong to all of us. They're all of our children. What is that mentality? Where does that mentality come from? No, they do not belong to you all. They belong to the parents, and the parents are given responsibility by God to train them up in the way they should go. The Proverbs 22:6, the passage you mentioned a moment ago.
Yeah. At what point, say, they seem to love the fact that parents are very unfit nowadays, and parents are not together. They love the destruction of the family. It seems like they love chaos and crime and homelessness and disease, so that they can swoop in and give false solutions to the problems that they stir up. But at what point, given that there are bad parents, at what point should a local man step in, a local authority? I guess I'll ask you this question after the break. But if you can hold over for the...
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, you bet, James.
But at what point should the local authorities step in to help to protect a child from an evil father or mother or something like that? Right. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back. We're talking with Bill Lockwood. I am James Hake, sitting in for JLP, who's out of town for a week or so. Hang tight, guys.
But the beer is cold and the music's always playing. And the jukebox is the best there is in town. Set you free at a happy hour. Country songs and whiskey sours can cheer up any man who's feeling down.
I have books that are amazing. I highly recommend you get them. 7 Guaranteed Steps to Spiritual, Family, and Financial Success Guide. Even if you're not starting a business, but you have a job, or you're on welfare, it can help you if you do. Be doers of the word, all right? From rage to responsibility. From rage. That's what I write about in the first chapter, especially how I overcame. Scam. How the black leadership exploits black Americans. They're using them, and blacks are too willing to be used. And then my last book, The Antidote, Healing America. From the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. They are all amazing books, and they are helpful. Go to rebuildingtheman.com if you want an autographed copy, or call 800-411-2663.
And we're back. I'm James Hake, filling in for Jesse Lee Peterson, alongside Hassan and Nick. We're guest hosting for the Jesse Lee Peterson Show while he's out of town, taking care of some things for a week or so here. I'm live with Bill Lockwood, who's host of Patriotic Pulpit. You can find him on Spotify, formerly known as American Liberty with Bill Lockwood, still on News Talk 1290. Writes there as well. You can read his columns. A preacher at Iowa Park Church of Christ. And you can check out his YouTube channel, Bible Studies with Bill Lockwood, retired teacher at Wichita Falls, Texas. Bill, is there anything I missed there that you want people to follow you on Twitter or whatever? Well,
I need to give it an update. I did drop the radio portion of the program. It's simply a podcast at this point, so It's not News Talk 1290. And that's only been within the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
And but so it's strictly a podcast, and it's on Spotify, as you pointed out, and it's also on Amazon Music app, and it's Patriotic Pulpit. So that's right. And then I do have the Bible Studies with Bill Lockwood. Those are the sermons I preach on Sundays at the Iowa Park Church of Christ and the pulpit. So that's correct. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
You heard my question at the beginning of the, at the end of just before the break.
Right.
What would you say to, have you ever witnessed where it's bad parents and you had to step in, or was there any time for a local authorities? I'm not talking about the state or the feds. I don't know if feds really get involved, but the state seems to get over-involved in this education world and in the parents, taking children from the parents. When is it right to step in?
Well, I don't deny that there are times when parents need to be, or someone needs to step in from a local government, and that would be, of course, in the case of violating the law and abuse. But here's the problem. The problem is that we've taken everything to the federal level. So even if the federal government is not stepping in itself, the federal government, through the state governments, are mandating what kind of guidelines the locals are to look for. Yeah. So now they're going to outlaw spanking at a federal level. Just look at what they've done to the National Education Association and NEA. Well, they've outlawed those kinds of things because that's their mentality. So their mentality is that parental discipline that is applied to the seat of education is off limits. So they're going to count that as beating. So what we have now, even in the local level, is that they're going by federal guidelines or state guidelines. And those guidelines usually are antagonistic to the family, or antagonistic to, or antipodal to the guidance of children and even disciplining of a child. There's nothing wrong with good spankings with a child applied properly, obviously.
Right.
But we've become such a sensitive society to all of this, but because at the top, here are the guidelines. So even if it's a local official stepping in at this point, they're usually guided by guidelines that come from the state level at least. So that shows us the genius of the founders and how we've turned that upside down and on its head, because they said you better keep everything local. So if we kept it local, then if they started stepping in, for example, in Wichita County where I live, into families that were simply spanking their children and making them go to church, for example, and sitting in church and that kind of thing, and teaching Bible, because the federal government says, no, matter of fact, Bill Nye, the science guy, says, no, it's abuse of children to teach them the Bible and creation. If you're going to teach creation, that's abuse. All right, that's the federal government's concept of it.
Right.
So if you're going to teach a child creation in the Bible, then that is, in the federal government's eyes and many state levels' eyes, that's abuse. So now they're going to, through those guidelines, to the local government, step in and say, no, you can't do that. Well, so where did we go wrong? We went wrong by letting it go out of the local communities. It should be a local community, and even the county, perhaps at the highest level, but beyond that, no. Because then you get into those people who are the socialists who are controlling the state, and they're making the guidelines. So I don't think to answer your question directly, I don't think that we should off limits local governments from stepping in true abusive situations, but we need to understand what is abuse and what is not abuse.
Right.
And the only way we can manage that is by keeping it at a local level. So if I see that Wichita County says, okay, it is abuse of children to teach them creation or to spank them on the bottom when they do wrong in the store, then we can control that. We can step in here. We can change that.
Right.
But if that comes out of the state of Texas, that's my chances of changing that now have become very slim.
You're talking to a wall.
That's right. And if it comes from the federal government, impossible. And now we've taken it to the international rights of the child from the United Nations, who tell us that these belong to the government, international community, and here's how you're going to do it. Well, who's going to change that law?
Yeah.
You're going to go to Brussels and get in there and mix it up with them? No. So that shows us the problem about all of this that we're talking about.
That's very true. You know, during the China virus, there were lockdowns in localities, and it was basically like the liberal areas were the most mama about it, overprotective and oppressive about it, and destroying their own communities, their own businesses. And it was a shame, but that's because the world is less Christian, I guess, and less manly thinking than really ever.
Right. And we allowed the government to manage us, to control us. And it was really I think it was a dry run by the World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
A dry run saying, okay, how are we going to be able to control everything? And they did. They controlled so much, even down to the local churches, shut the doors.
Yeah.
So matter of fact, I was in California at one point, and they were telling me that, of course, the doors were shut. They can't worship there. And this was in Imperial Beach and down there near San Diego. And they said, listen, if people in the neighborhood hear us singing, they're liable to do what?
Report you.
us.
That's
Right.
insane.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly where we are.
And that harkens back to that communist snitching on your neighbor over stuff that's not even wrong.
Right. That's right. And that has going on continually in our nation. So the World Economic Forum, through that coronavirus, kind of tested the waters and said, okay, here's what we're seeing. Here's what we can do. And they ended up being very successful in that. We've not really recovered from that.
Yeah.
I mean, I drive around Wichita Falls and their car lots are empty. I don't think, how do they stay in business?
Right.
I don't understand. I really don't.
Yeah, it's really a shame what they've done.
Yeah.
You know, they're speaking of local versus state or federal or even international control. I know that there have been state education department adoption standards for textbooks that have become very, very corrupt, forcing these textbooks, educational textbooks, to have different diversity things and social justice warrior things inside of these textbooks. So that speaks to your local control thing, because people can't even have quality, decent textbooks in their schools anymore.
You know, in the states, there is, for example, in Texas, the State Board of Education, SBOE, and they at one time they were approving, and they had a board, and they were approving the textbooks that would be used.
Yeah.
I was really suspicious of a state board. Right. But as long as we had some good people on there, that kind of went all right. But it kind of was rocky ground, because at the same time they started this was probably about 15 years ago, they started some of the federal programs that Obama got behind, later on regarding education.
Yeah.
And so they got that going in Texas, but we were able to kind of put a stopgap to it because we had that state board that had some conservative members and say, hey, we're being bypassed
Right.
by these liberal entities that are giving us textbooks. Well, now what's happened? All right, well, we don't use textbooks anymore. We don't have textbooks in school. What do we have? We have Chromebooks. Well, okay,
yeah.
so it's online curriculum.
Yeah.
So how many parents honestly are able to look at the online curriculum, look at it, say, what is being taught here? What, you can't just flip through pages and say, let me go find a good place to, let me think about this. No. And the kids frequently don't take the Chromebooks home. They leave them at schools. If they do take them home, they use them for other things, and getting on sites they shouldn't be on.
Right.
And parents are, so they're not involved anymore in the curriculum. And it's so sad because we put it all online.
It is a lot of this is the parents' fault, really.
Right.
Because they don't have to be sending their children to schools. I get that it's tough for some not having both parents working because the economy's seemingly purposely messed up in that way so that it's harder to make it. But they don't have to be doing it that way. And you don't have to be even that smart to teach your kid to read and educate himself, really.
Right. Well, you know what, really, the thing to do is get your children out of public education.
Yeah.
That is the only real option at this particular point, because the government of our country has said the parental rights stop at the school threshold of the door.
Yeah.
So you don't have the right. So that's what's happening right now in our country. Now, in local communities, you might be able to, smaller communities, they'll be able to get in there and you'll have good teachers and they'll have good stuff. And they'll say, I'm not going to teach this evolutionary thing and I'll teach them creation thing also. But, that's only squeaking by the skin of their teeth, really.
Right.
As long as they're not really brought attention to. And here's something else. When the coronavirus hit, it did, homeschooling jumped to about 10% of the population. That was amazing because prior to that, it had been less than 5%. And it jumped to 10%. What happened? Well, not only did parents put their children in homeschool, they decided, okay, but they also started looking at the curriculum that their children had because they're sitting at home with their teachers online. So it was kind of a two-edged sword with the federal government. They were able to be successful in shutting down a lot of things and private businesses, but at the same time, parents were able to say, hey, here's what's going on in my children's school. I don't like what I'm seeing. And they took the kids out of school.
Wow, that's cool. See, there's always an opportunity for good to make a way.
That's right.
The Bible talks about caring for orphans and widows, but I've noticed that the government tends to be all about trying to take care of all women, infant, children, WIC, with their food stamps and stuff. And they want all women and infants and children, and they want the men to be less manly than ever. Seems like.
Well, and that's interesting that you bring that up because I was thinking about that earlier. What has happened is that our welfare society has replaced, because the government has replaced through welfare, the father in the home, as Jesse has talked about for many, many years.
Yeah.
And so it has played right into the hands of all of what we're talking about, and that is that there are no fathers in the home. And so now we have almost like breeding farms where the children are talking at high school, they talk like, who's your baby daddy? Well, it's almost like who's the stud horse that that you got the straw from. And that's exactly how they talk. They don't have anything, no fatherhood, no responsibility, no fathers getting in their training. They don't even think that way. Now we have simply baby daddies, and so baby daddies are going to breed the girls, and so that's what's happening. So now they're brought up, and the government remains the fathers in the home. They give them the money to have the children, and they continue to give them the money. And so it has eliminated the fathers in the home teetotally, absolutely done.
And it's a shame because now fathers don't rise to the occasion, and you don't really realize that what's possible. Like when you talked about how people started doing the homeschooling, I bet you a lot of them realized that in some ways it may have been tougher than they realized, but in a lot of ways it's a whole lot more doable than they realized. And I imagine same thing goes with being a father, being a mother, staying married, and raising your family.
You know, I have my sister-in-law. My brother and sister-in-law. They lived in the D.C. area at one point, and the public schools, they were so unhappy what was taking place in the classroom. This was many years ago when the kids were early in grade school.
Yeah.
And he would go up there constantly say, "What in the world are you teaching? What?" And so these girls that they have are such wonderful Christian girls today. They're in college age. But what they did was they pulled them out of school at the public schools. And my sister-in-law says, you know, she was concerned at the time, but there's such a great community support group of homeschool Bible-based curriculum that they utilized, and it made all the difference in the world. It brought the family together. They were able to teach their children Bible. They were able to teach, and the girls absolutely excelled in every element of education. So you compare what I've seen there to what I see in the public schools. There is no comparison.
Right.
They're coming out of the public schools, James, and we give away the diplomas like it's a piece of a candy wrapper.
Yeah.
And that's about as much as it is. It's like, okay, this is a Jack in Box, and here you go, and here's your diploma. These kids don't know how to read. They don't know how to write. They don't know how to do any arithmetic. They don't know how to do anything. But you want to see some children that really know how to do their thing, and you know they're ready for college and actually excel their college peers. You go to the homeschools, and those homeschoolers the parents are interested in it and involved in their education, not simply pulling the kid out of school and I'm going to homeschool. I've seen that here in Wichita Falls also. Some of the kids will say, or some of the kids in juvenile detention and then go to the where it was teaching, and they say, well, we're pulling them out because there's such disciplinary problems.
Right.
And no one in the school can handle them, so they pull them out. And so it became kind of they're homeschooling. Well, not that kind of homeschooling is what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm talking about where a mother and father are involved in the education from the beginning, and there's no disciplinary problems here. And that's the kind of education children need. So that's what people need to do. And if you want to see families that are successful, you look at those families and you'll find those are the ones excelling.
You know, I was homeschooled 2 years, distinct years in my childhood, in 3rd grade and in 6th grade. And those years, when I came back to my regular public school where I was attending, I came back on top of the class. And
Right.
You're right about that, because the mother sits by while you have to do your reading and writing. Maybe my father helped me taught me math stuff and did physical education and all that stuff. And it gave me a boost to really, because you're not wasting as much time with the whole rest of the class and doing different activities and busy work that often happens with public schools with 30 kids or however many.
You know what? I'm thinking back to my high school days, and it was 1970s, and I would sit in the math classes. Now, there are some students that were very, very sharp. They're very good. They sat up on the front and they answered the questions. But if you're behind, like I was in math, then you kind of gravitate toward the back, and then you're with the people that are kind of like, well, they kind of joke around, and you're like, what's going on? I don't know. And they at those days, you were sending messages, on paper, back and forth. But you know what? If I had had a father at home and mother at home who would sit me down and say, look here, here's your math. All right. There's no passing notes, and there's no not paying attention and not getting it.
Yep.
My mother was a great Christian woman. She taught in the public schools. My father was not at home, so she was not able to homeschool us, but she did. She had a great Bible study with us. We studied the Bible frequently, but as far as the school and high school, I was not able to really plug in. And you know what? When I got to college, I took Greek. I was a Bible major, and I took Greek. And I took Greek in freshman and sophomore, all through college, and then at graduate school, I took Greek. But one of the hardest things that I had was that we had to do Greek grammar and Greek syntax, reading the New Testament in Greek. We had to do the Greek syntax. That was second year Greek after the first year, which was basics. James, I didn't even know what a noun was and a verb was. And that's because I didn't learn it in high school. They didn't teach it in high school. I was so frustrated. I went and bought English textbooks at the college bookstore at Oklahoma Christian College in Oklahoma City, and English textbooks. And I thought, okay, how do you diagram a sentence? I was having to diagram in Greek. I couldn't diagram in English.
Right.
And I thought, where did we fall through the cracks? Well, the educational system, they just they say, well, you can have short story reading, short story writing. You can read romances. You can read, mythology. So we sit in there and kind of read and kind of joke around with each other. And the teacher would sit up front and let us read.
Yeah.
We were not learning anything.
Yeah.
And when I got to college, it was a tough time. So I was actually going through grammar on English at home and then doing Greek. And that's everyday stuff. That's what's happening. Our educational system has been failing for a long, long time.
There are some brilliant young people who they can go on the internet and just learn stuff if they're self-motivated like that, and they have a drive to learn, and they are actually independent-minded like that. But you're right. When you're just corralled through a thing, you're just going to mess around with your friends. And,
right.
And
even though it's messing around, there's nothing ugly going on.
Right.
You're still not paying attention. You're still not getting the lesson. And Mr. Diaz, who was my Algebra 2 teacher, he would go on and we go to the next lesson. Let me tell you, just like in Greek, in algebra, in math, as everybody knows who's listening, you don't get that lesson number 1. Don't go to lesson number 2.
Yeah.
Don't go to lesson number 12. Don't go to lesson number 15 and 30. You don't go to those lessons. If you don't get the basics, you're not ready for the other.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Bill, it's been great talking with you.
Oh, it's my privilege, James. It's great to see you and hear you again. You bet.
Well, Bill, we'll see you next month. Hopefully JLP will be back, I'm sure. And,
you bet.
Bill Lockwood, Patriotic Pulpit on Spotify. You can follow him on Twitter, right? AmLib Radio, is it still?
Yeah, it is. That's on Twitter. That's the Twitter handle, and then Amazon Music app as well as Spotify. You bet, James.
Thanks again, Bill Lockwood. Take care.
All right. Thank you much, James. Appreciate it.
All right. Guys, we'll be back where it's going to be Hake News, and we'll be heading into hour 2 with some nice throwbacks. This is the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, guest hosted by Hake.
We have a counseling service, and I have to admit, thanks to God, it is the best counseling service on this side of heaven. I counsel with men and women, families, individuals around the world. Most people are unhappy, they're miserable, they have rough lives, they're depressed, suicidal, young and old, of all races. I understand, I know why, and I do understand it. Because exactly what's happening in me is happening with everybody outside of me, inside of them. And I've noticed that with those who really, really, really want to understand, they overcome it just like that, out of one counseling session. If you need counseling, you can go to rebuildingtheman.com or call 800-411-2663. 800-411-BOND. Best counseling service on this side of heaven.
NASA means lies. Just kidding, it doesn't. I'm just kidding, guys. But shout out to the space deniers. The air quality is still messed up. Thanks a lot, Canada. And immigration. The so-called Justice Department is for the messed up immigration situation. And they're, Lord have mercy. Sleepy Joe is building a national monument to Emmett Till. What a mess. This is the end of hour 1 of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, guest hosted by Hake. Had an interesting conversation with Bill Lockwood. We will be right back for hour 2, and we will get to your calls if you would like to call in, as well as your super chats. I see them coming in. You can talk with Nick and Hassan as well. Some throwback JLP. But first, Hake news, not fake news. Or is it? NASA is building a telescope to find life beyond Earth. Engineers are aiming to launch the technology in 2026. Seems like an empty pursuit for my taste. Potentially allowing humankind, it's called mankind, to peer deep into unexplored areas of the cosmos. What a mess, huh? Whatever. Air quality is a mess. Smoke from more than 1,000 fires burning across Canada is noticeably drifting into the United States again. The pollution from the smoke is threatening residents' health in several cities, including Chicago, Minneapolis, Detroit, now ranked in the top 20 most polluted cities in the world, according to global pollution tracker IQ Air. Ever heard of it? Not me. The blanket of hazy skies follows a belt of Canadian wildfire smoke that stretched across the United States last week, triggering air quality alerts for more than a dozen states from Montana to Vermont, with some smoke reaching as far south as Alabama. Wow. The U.S. will likely continue to see downwind effects of Canada's prolonged wildfires as the country continues to experience its worst fire season on record. Thanks a lot, Justin Trudeau. No, I don't know whom to blame. Immigration, the so-called Justice Department, is suing the state of Texas, as you may have heard yesterday or earlier, as Governor Greg Abbott, the rhino, refuses to remove floating barriers. Well, good for him, I think, that his administration constructed in the Rio Grande River. Abbott had argued that the barriers are intended to deter migrant illegal invaders from crossing into Texas from Mexico, but his measures have disrupted U.S. Border Patrol operations put migrants at risk of drowning. Would-be illegals, right? In the lawsuit, the DOJ specifically alleges that Texas and Greg Abbott, a Republican, violated the Rivers and Harbors Appropriation Act by building a structure in U.S. water without permission from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. What a mess. However, Greg Abbott is pushing back defiantly, saying in a Fox News interview on yesterday, that he plans to take the lawsuit all the way to the United States Supreme Court, trying to protect his people, or at least his career, because his people do not like him allowing these illegals in. So-called President Sleepy Joe Biden will establish a new national monument today honoring Emmett Till. Was he an honorable young man? I don't know. He was a black teenager allegedly murdered in 1955, and his mother, activist mother, showed pictures of it, open casket funeral, to help galvanize the so-called civil rights movement, the communist anger-filled division subversion of America. The monument will be centered in Illinois and Mississippi, the states where Emmett Till was from and killed, respectively. The designation will come amid a national debate over how to teach painful facts about America's history in public schools. Some Republican-led states have enacted new standards that critics say sanitize history. No, it gives them a balance, including realities of slavery and racist violence, of which there's no such thing. Sleepy Joe Biden will officially name the monument at a Black on the Inside White House event later today, which would have been Emmett Till's 82nd birthday. What a mess. I'm laughing with him, not at him, but it's a mess. So bad. Taxpayers no longer have to fear the IRS showing up unannounced at their door. They're ending a decades-long practice of having revenue officers visit households and businesses to help them resolve their account balances by collecting unpaid taxes and unfiled tax returns. I guess they're only going to do that to whites and right-wingers. I'm James Hake. Now back to JLP, guest hosted by Hake, Hour 2.
Got to stand up strong, think the truth about themselves, to understand what went wrong. I know we can find a way, I know we can find a way, I know we can find a way.
uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am James Hake, as you know, filling in for JLP. Jesse Lee Peterson is doing fine. He's out of town for a week or so, okay? So he should be back Tuesday, I believe. There will not be a JLP church on Sunday. It will be guest hosted by Joel or Hake or somebody. So JLP will not be at church this Sunday either. Just a heads up for those of you. Some of you guys come from out of town wanting to see JLP. You can still fellowship with us, but just be warned that JLP will not be there to meet you. We'll be back on next Tuesday. It's Tuesday the 25th, 2023 AD. And I have a nice throwback for you guys, though. We will be getting to your Super Chats and stuff. In fact, you know what? Before we do that, before we get to this throwback, let's get to a couple of Super Chats because they're pertinent.
Super Chats.
Good morning, Hassan. How you doing, man?
Good morning, brother.
How'd you like that Bill Lockwood interview? Did you catch it?
Unbelievable. You did a great job.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, very interesting. He's always coming with something interesting.
Yeah, it's a man of knowledge right there. Smartest white man on this side of heaven. But he had to work at it. He had to learn Greek and English. He probably knows grammar better than Hake. That's cool. Let's get to a couple of Super Chats here. You know what? I don't even have them for you. But on D Live, Mav Angel donated a diamond. Thank you, Mav Angel, saying, Happy White History Month. Indeed. Happy White History Month. Happy White History Month, Hassan.
Yes, sir.
Have you wished any strangers Happy White History Month?
I did, and it didn't go well, so I've sort of stayed away from it.
You traumatized?
A little bit, yeah.
You know, I've told this story many times. I was traumatized when I walked up during the China virus shutdowns early on. When I walked up to Beverly Hills, you know that park right there on La Cienega?
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, it is. But I had no mask on. But I was outdoors, and I was giving plenty of personal space, also known as social distancing. But I had this judgmental father telling his son he doesn't care about anybody from behind my back after I walked way around them. And he's selfish. He doesn't want to wear a mask. And then within a minute of that, I'm walking into the park, and some gal, young lady, walking with a man, I think, said, "Put on your fucking mask."
Whoa.
And I just acted like I didn't hear either of them. And I was tempted to like turn around and be like to the father, "You're acting like a mama. You're teaching that son of yours, that young son of yours, to be brainwashed and judgmental." And then I thought of saying to the lady, "Anger is bad for your health, lady." But no, I didn't say a word. I just kept my head down and did my thing, stretching and doing a little bit of exercises over there. But
Nice.
It did take me a while to go back over there because I was like, this place isn't pleasant.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills is supposed to be beautiful and friendly. These liberals are hateful. Terrible. But yeah, I kind of know what you mean. When you touch the oven, it's too hot. Can't take the heat.
And it might have been the way that I did it.
True.
I don't know what kind of spirit I had when I said it.
Right.
So.
Who did you tell, out of curiosity? Where were you?
Some fellas I played basketball with.
Oh, wow. Oh, the Jews.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's baseball.
Oh, okay.
The basketball are blacks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny, man.
So,
What did they say? Do you remember?
Well, it was pretty vulgar, and
Right.
Yeah, and they said, no one cares about no White History Month. We should beat you up.
Dang. Well, they revealed themselves, didn't they?
Yeah,
Crazy. They literally said that, huh?
they did,
What a
and
mess.
more. But
Right. Yeah.
it's
Did you argue with them at all? You puff up your chest, or did you kind of like? All right.
I did argue. I brought up my my new favorite fact of Anthony Johnson being the first slave owner.
Nice.
And he's black.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other little ego facts to argue with.
So you weren't really concerned about physical battery and assault?
At one point I was, but that was because we lost the game. And it was because they had this big, huge Mexican guy on their team.
Uh-huh.
And I kept saying, like, the wall going up.
Oh, jeez.
And then after the game, he came up to me.
Uh-huh.
And there was a moment then where I was like, this could potentially be bad. But
Right.
the whole thing was bad. I shouldn't have done any of it. But anyway, point is, happy White History Month.
Indeed. You know, it's a shame, though, that baseball and basketball, those are places to trash talk and tell your racist, not necessarily jokes, but throw your racist barbs to get under their skin.
I agree. I love that. I love that you're saying that because I couldn't agree more.
I was thinking about, I have is it Josh Donaldson jersey? I don't even know baseball at all, but I have a New York Yankees jersey, and I think it's Josh Donaldson, and I bought it because there was a story about him being racist, because he's all, "What's up, Jackie?" to this guy who was black. You probably know this story. I've covered it a couple times
I remember
now.
you talked about it, yeah.
And this black guy's like, "I don't play like that. I don't play like that." And he's tattletaled to the media and got the Josh Donaldson suspended for one day. He had to at least one game. He had to apologize, and it was a mess. But that black man, Tim Anderson, I think. I can't believe I'm remembering these names, if I'm remembering them correctly. It's just because I have a good memory. It's not because I know sports at all. I don't even know baseball. I need to bring Big Bump in here. He's supposed to take it like a man. You are supposed to play like that. You got nothing.
Yeah.
Just talk trash.
Exactly. You got to use everything at your
Your mama this.
Yeah. That's the good old days.
Yeah, indeed. Another super chat from Carver. He bought a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/JLP Talk. Hake, we see you eyeing Bill Lockwood's awesome hat. He had a cowboy hat. Those of you listening on audio podcast, American Liberty with Bill Lockwood. Patriotic Pulpit is the new name of his podcast. You can find it on Spotify or Amazon Music, which is Amazon Podcast. JLP is on Spotify and Amazon as well. So is the Hake Report. And I should check in to see if I can find American Anchor Baby on it. I know he's on Substack. But he says, you can put this coffee towards the hat fund. Thanks for guest hosting. Well, we have a hat for... Oh! It's Tuesday. It's Country and Western Tuesday. I forgot all about that.
So did I.
I gotta get Jesse on his horsey.
What the?
Jesse is here after all, guys. But
What the?
hold on here, hold on.
Look at this new garb.
Look at him. He has it. I showed this on the Hake Report yesterday. He has his poncho, which you've probably seen, guys. This is a 12-inch Jesse doll, as opposed to Ken doll, in honor of, man. Oh, yeah, and he has his, oh, I should censor this. He has his, what is this called? You call it a repeater? Dang, is that a shotgun?
The wall going up.
It's a repeater. It's a
570 government standard.
It's a rifle. Look at this thing.
Winchester.
I need to put it in a place where you can see it. Man, I disavow this.
You have that?
I disavow guns.
Oh, the video?
But look at this.
Okay, yeah.
So cool. And he has a big old pistol. And he has his, I don't know if you can see. He has his spurs, his cowboy hat, black cowboy hat, reminiscent of who's that guy from Milwaukee? Sheriff David Clark wears a cowboy hat like that, black. And he has his bandolier. Look at that underneath. Concealed carry of ammo. His ammo belt thing that goes across. It's called a bandolier. And his jeans, and he's riding this big old tall white horse of death, and he's bringing ego death. Nice, which is a good thing. Let's see if I can make him hold this. You want to talk here, Nick? While
We got ourselves. Oh, nice. Hassan with the young intro.
That's pretty awesome. I'm feeling too clean cut for Country and Western Tuesday. That's JLP. What the? Hey, Mr. Sandman.
Amazing.
Country and Western Tuesday. Amen.
That's pretty good.
How you doing, Nick?
Hey, what's up? Good morning.
So this is Hassan's work in collaboration with another guy from church, right? Bringing this
I
stuff for.
don't know the lore.
Nice.
It's unbelievable.
That's really
These
cool.
guys brought spurs, boots,
Oh yeah, that.
Right.
guns.
Yeah. Custom made.
That's
Some
super
of it
cool.
custom made. Someone in the chat even noticed too. I didn't even know how they did that, but they said, why is Jesse on a horse with a Mexican saddle?"
Yeah.
I didn't know that was like.
That
I don't know
totally
how
is
they
a-
could tell, but
It is sort of a Mexican saddle. It has a Mexican blanket. It's I don't know if it's
see, Hake would
doesn't
know.
have the shaping, and I don't know that much, but it doesn't have all the shaping that some of these American ones have.
It's just like cloth.
Yeah. I mean, it does have a horn at the
Yeah.
top or whatever that thing is that you're supposed to grab. Rest your
Straight
hands
from
on.
the Alamo.
Yeah, beautiful.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
We need to show off the bandolier more.
So happy Country and Western Tuesday, everybody. Do you want to get to? Shall we get to a call? I guess.
Let me know if another one comes in.
Okay.
888-775-3773.
Tyler in Michigan is on the line. Wants to talk about gun safety and children. Tyler, thanks for calling and holding. How you doing, man?
Good. How about yourself, fellas?
Doing fine. Thank you. You're live with Hake, and Hassan and Nick are here, so they can address your concerns as well. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, this is a question for everybody. I was just wondering what you guys' thoughts and opinions are on gun safety for children. What's the appropriate age to start? How do you feel about it?
Bring
Just your
yourselves
opinions on it.
on camera if you don't mind there. I know that I wasn't really taught much with regard to guns. I at least not by my parents and grandparents and cousins and uncles and stuff. But we got to play with my grandpa's World War II gun a little bit, and maybe my uncle's or something. And it was cool. It was like a little rifle thing.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't that little, but it wasn't loaded. And then we got to play with cap guns all the time and stuff. But JLP, I know, got his first gun at 15. And I've always just had basic respect for stuff. Like, I wasn't going to get myself killed or kill anybody. So when I came around actual real life guns, then I was an adult by then, I think. But I don't really have I think that parents who are responsible teach their children a proper respect for those things so that they don't kill one another on purpose or on accident.
Yep.
What say you guys?
Well, it's weird how you can grow up like actually sanitized from that.
I know.
Because I had you reminded me cap guns though.
Right.
Awesome.
Yep.
But I
Squirt
don't think
guns.
I even thought about guns significantly and I play some video games and stuff. I knew what they were, obviously.
Right.
It's weird how you could be totally far away from that.
Yeah.
But you
true.
know, one thing I'll say, there's this notion, there's this like emotion or notion that some people have. It's like, oh no, oh guns, no, that's too dangerous. Oh no,
Right. Just the sight of them, they get
right.
mad.
And one thing I don't understand is I never use the like F slur for gay people. Like I like to call things what they are.
Right.
But like I can't call that anything else.
Yeah.
Like what is this reaction of like, oh no, too dangerous?
Right. I know.
Maybe you don't want him in the home. That's one thing. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was talking about in my debate with, I think it was with that atheist guy, Tom Jump. I said that people don't like guns, and what I meant was people don't even like to, they're brainwashed against guns, like Eric Holder
that.
wanted to do, the former attorney general. He wanted to brainwash people against guns, and now people don't even want to carry guns and train with guns and have them. And there are some liberal socialists like Vosh, who's pro. At least he can be handy with a gun, I guess. But
it should be the most natural thing.
Yeah,
That's the boomstick. That's the boomstick. You don't point the boomstick at people. Like it should be the most natural thing.
Right.
You know, the boomstick kills.
right. when you use it to kill. But you know, there was a I saw this billboard. You know these Jewish billboards, the pink ones.
Oh yeah.
That we're only 75 years out from the
Gas chamber.
gas chambers.
Vulgar.
So I don't think
How vulgar.
I know it is vulgar.
Wow.
I don't think a billboard is an overreaction. Well, I saw another one recently, and I'd seen it before. It said something like, "At your churches," this is aimed at Christians. "At your churches, do you have to have armed guards? Because we do at our synagogues." And I'm like, well, yeah, it's called the Second Amendment, and some of the men should be armed. And there have been cases in Texas where a man was armed, and he was able to shoot a guy who was going to do a mass shooting inside of a church. It's happened more than once, and he was able to stop the threat. He might have killed one person, but
We should look
An
at that
armed
and be
society.
like, hey,
yeah,
Good
and when
idea.
that happens, that kind of stuff goes down. In Detroit, homeowners, I believe, were told, this could be an urban legend, but I feel like I remember it during when I was producer for JLP. Homeowners were told, if you shoot and kill an intruder, you're not going to be prosecuted. And they shot and killed a few intruders, and home invasions went down after that. I could be getting my facts wrong. I may be a little bit off on there, but it's just common sense. When you can't get free reign in a home, you run the risk of getting shot and killed. You're not going to take that risk. So same thing with the mass shootings. When you don't know if people are going to be armed, you're less likely to go over there. What about you, Hassan?
Yeah, I think just in general, I think like I'm super against just gun-free zones and like at
Yeah.
schools where it says this is a gun-free zone.
That's like
Basically like, hey, bad guys,
Come shoot us.
Come
Yep.
here, yeah, come kill us.
yeah,
And I think like even in Israel, like the fact that even women,
yeah, teachers.
everyone has to go to like the army and like learn how to use a gun. And
Yeah,
yeah, I think if it's not a scary thing and people are more familiar with it, the younger the better. Then that is the gun safety, is gun understanding.
yes,
Kind of.
yep, and good character. You don't resort to violence when you are angry, and you don't justify anger.
Yeah.
In Michigan?
I agree with everything you guys said, definitely, and it's odd to hear you guys say how old you were, like when you first were introduced or came around, because where we're at, it's uncommon for a kid to be past the age of 7 and not have some kind of gun safety.
Nice. That's awesome.
little militia.
In Michigan. That's cool.
And,
Is it more rural area, or is it like close to the cities? Or both?
More rural, definitely.
Yeah.
We lived in the city, born and raised, and even down there was a culture of hunters and people, you know, and but when we got north, that's what everybody knew. Everybody had, you know, everybody's kids and friends, and everybody was in the same hunter safety classes and go to the range together and go practice. And it's very uncommon to hear of a kid past the age of 7 that haven't, you know, had some kind of gun practice or safety.
That's a good point, man. That's cool.
And
go ahead.
And how do you feel about the fact that we have our rights to bear arms to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government? When is enough enough?
You know, I used to find that ridiculous.
I disavow this question. You know, man.
You know, I never, you know, I'm not a violent guy
what do you say?
or anything like that.
What's your take on it?
It's a hard one because that's kind of where we come from as we teach our kids, you know, these are why we have our rights. This is why, you know, or do we want to lean towards a different route of teaching them why we have firearms? It's confusing nowadays.
Right. You know, I think that I personally don't really think it's the time for that. And I definitely feel the push to say that because of pressure, because of, you know, PR type pressure where the powers that be wouldn't be and the media would be outraged at anyone justifying that type of action. But so there's definitely a peer, not, I almost spit out a piece of apple. I ate a bite of apple before I started the show.
That's
TMI.
the secret sauce.
The quickest form of energy, I heard. You know, but aside, if I can put aside the feeling of pressure from caving to that media, government crackdown, fear of feds, and fear of all that, there's so much else we do, and also there's so much else that we do and can do that is so wrong, that's undermining our freedom in how we live and how we are in our spirits. And on top of that, taking up arms, you only take up arms if you think you can win. I think. I mean, it's not the time for that. You do that, and you're going to die.
I truly believe gun rights guys and activists, when they say that term, well, our founding fathers gave us them rights,
right.
It kind of gives us a bad rep. Like, no, like, we don't need to do it that way anymore. It's not back in the day. If we can spread the word of God and come to an understanding, we can do things different. Yeah. And that's where I was kind of leaning towards is, how do you guys feel about when you hear that term? Well, that's why we have those rights. And it does. I think it is kind of a...
When you say the reason that we have... when you say I spoke over you a bit, apologies. But you said when the reason that we have the Second Amendment is to be able to overthrow an oppressive government. And times are not desperate.
To protect ourselves from a tyrannical government.
There you go. Yeah, to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. You know, establishing a free people. It's part of the Second Amendment, I think.
It's weird how I used to think that's ridiculous. That was ridiculous. I'd hear that was the purpose. I'm like, what are you talking about? Tyrannical government?
Yeah.
But I realized, too, that I don't think as Christians we need to start the war. The war will already have happened, and you'll be in the right place and moment to fight it if you need to. And if you're the one to start it, you know, not trying to Fed post, but then you would know. Like, you would know that. Like, so it's ridiculous to think, I need to do this or that. I need to fight this tyrannical government. The war will be already happening around you, and then you'll... You know what I mean?
That's so true. The moment will tell you, because we're not God to say when and what the conditions need to be, because that's not the reality of the situation in at the present moment for you or for me. You know what I mean? And the people who say that the people who talk about that, they're leaning on it like a mental crutch and in their imaginations, you know, because many of us, including them, are weak spiritually and not living free from within, you know, where we have our hang-ups and we're have anger and fear and live in our imaginations. And those things we're not seeing clearly in those moments. And that's no time, when you're not seeing clearly, that's no time to be picking up arms and trying to start a fight.
Exactly. And that, I totally agree. And that's how I see it. The gun activists, they're right in a sense, but it does make us look bad, is how I see it. If everybody can turn to God and just pray, everything's going to be fine. Everything will work out. Yeah,
you can live like JLP says, and the Bible says, you can be at peace even in the midst of chaos and destruction, because the world is going to be always evil until God comes back and fixes it or something. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. But in the meantime, you are your world. I think JLP is so right about that. Yep. Even though you're like the Bible says, if you're a slave, know that you're free in Christ. If you're in prison, know that you're free in Christ. If you're free or you're a master, know that you're a servant of God or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything, Hassan?
Yeah, just kind of like what you guys are saying and what Nick's saying about
Oh no.
Oh, call
at the break.
The moment
Hold on, callers.
The moment will present itself, and I think that the Second Amendment is also to protect the First Amendment. And I think that the minute that you get treaded on, don't tread on me. If someone is coming onto your property and saying, "Hey, we want the guns, we want this," then you'll be able to react, kind of like David Koresh style.
I disavow.
I disavow this as well.
It makes me think too of and this is not to that big of a put down, but just another side to the whole try that in a small town,
right?
Notion.
Yeah.
It's like they are doing it, doesn't it feel like that? It's like, yeah, try that around here, isn't it? They're not doing it with guns, but they're infiltrated the schools. They've infiltrated your local government. But we still have the Second Amendment. Oh, I dare you to come at me with I dare you to come try that.
Right, I know. It's like the Second Amendment's their only weapon, and we have spiritual. It's a spiritual war, and there's a place for the Second Amendment and and guns and all that, but they have no spiritual.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I exactly.
They're taking everything. It's like, oh, but come at me. I still have my Second Amendment.
Yeah. At least I got my Constitution.
Definitely. Instead of guns and using that as the crutch, why not?
Yeah.
He could have made a cool song, whatever. But why not spread the word of God through your platform?
True, man. Well, anything else, Tyler?
Nope, that was it, man. I appreciate it, and once again, thank you guys. I really do appreciate your time.
Are you black or white, just out of curiosity, or Hispanic?
I'm white with a head injury, so I stutter a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate you, man. I wish you well, you and your family. Take care.
Hey, thank you, guys. Have a good one. God bless.
All right, you as well. Guys, we'll be right back after this break. The Jesse Lee Peterson Show with the guest hosts. Nice.
Now, I totally disagree with the way things are going, but you can't be angry because that's what the enemy wants. He wants to control you. They do things to make you mad so they can control you. It's like being married, and the wife would do things to make you mad, or she'll do things to make you feel good. And men do that to women too when they want something from the woman, especially sex. They'll make her feel good, or they'll make her angry. And the woman's gonna have to say, you don't want to be angry. You want to speak up. You want to disagree with what's going on. It's wrong, but do not be angry. Then you won't have fear. You won't have doubt. You won't have worries. You'll be able to see, but you got to stay away from anger. That's why you must forgive your mothers and your fathers so that you can overcome the spirit of anger. It's a spirit and it's wicked. Nothing good in anger. because it has no love, folks. You need love to defeat evil. And love is not a weakness. It's a strength. It's from God. It's His nature.
What's up?
Isn't this nice? Country and Western Tuesday on the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. JLP is out of town, guys. He will be back next Tuesday, I believe. If the Lord is willing and the creek don't rise. I guess that's the black way of saying it. If the Lord be willing and as long as the creek does not rise, JLP will be back. He's out of town. So too, by the way, is the new producer of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. I'm the old geezer producer of JLP. And Nick, the American anchor baby, is the prior producer. And Hassan is the new board operator. As of how many years? How many years you been at this?
I think the 1 year anniversary coming up.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, some?
So,
oh, you meant like board operating in general?
For this.
Oh, yeah.
In
well, that
particular.
would be also in general.
Okay, nice. Right on. Yes, till next Tuesday with the clowns, indeed.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Rumble crew. And we're live on various platforms, guys. You can, I am remiss in not mentioning what JLP always says. You can listen to the show if you're out running from the police or whatever.
Yeah, from the cartels.
Yeah.
If you're about to hit some fentanyl.
you can. I called it. I called this number. It is. Let's see. What is it? It is 1-641-793-1500. It doesn't tend to work for you, or at least acts like it's going to charge you.
Any viewers, let me know. Email me. Let me know if you guys get this error. I get when I dial it. It tells me that it's going to incur a 1 cent charge per minute. Shout out TalkStream.
That's TalkStream Live.
What's up?
Oh, terrible.
Get the
Yeah,
echo.
just keep this going the whole time.
But let me know. Hit me up, radio@jesseleepeterson.com if you have any issues at all using this TalkStream Live. Most people seem to not report my issue, but let me know.
Yeah. We're live on YouTube, Rumble. Those are the two most popular ones. But shout out to the Cozy crew, cozy.tv/JLP, Odyssey, Twitter. I see a few of us over there, over on Twitter. Kick.com/Jesse Lee Peterson. What else? Where else? D-Live, the redheaded stepchildren of the of the platform, at least for Hake.
World.
James doing prank calls now. I once called 555-5555. And it was an Asian lady.
Oh,
I was a
that was
kid.
a number.
Yeah. What's up? DLive.tv/Jesse Lee Peterson. You can listen on TalkStream Live or JLP Live app. You can find all of the links by going to jlptalk.com, which is jesseleepeterson.com/show. I am wearing my brand new. I steamed it. Are you proud of me? All thoughts are all lies all the time. JLPT. Very nice. Designed by our own anchor baby. And mine is green, a light green, neutral color. I like it. Has white text and black text. And 100% cotton, so I know that if it stinks in here, it's not me. At least not the first day that I wear this shirt. Maybe after the third or fourth day. So you can find yours by going to rebuildingtheman.com/stores. Nick is just wearing a plain shirt.
I know. I don't have the merch on.
Hassan, you have any print on your... No print on your sweatshirt there?
I do.
Oh, cool. Nice.
It's Hollywood Bowl, 808's a Heartbreak performance. Kanye West.
Oh, right on.
2015.
Cool. Games for Rec says, happy birthday, Hake, with a diamond there. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. We never really finished the Super Chats. There was one that came in. I guess we'll say Super Chats again.
Super Chats.
Justin Childers says on Streamlabs.com. Well, it's not Streamlabs.com. It's JessieLeePeterson.live. Streamlabs.com/Bond Action Inc., if you can remember that. My dad got his first gun at 7 years old in the 1950s. A 410 shotgun. A .410. I don't know.
Sounds big.
410,000th shotgun. That's probably not the name of it. A 410 shotgun. Great starter gun for any kid. My first gun at 16, 50 cal. Whoa! You must have been a strapping young lad if for to have a 50 cal at 16. Did they call you Roadblock? Were you black, Justin Childers? The black guy who carries the big machine gun in G.I. Joe, his name was Roadblock. And there's another guy, a white man, who carried a big gun. I forget what his name was. It's blanking. But anyway, maybe that's not even Christian. These days, with gun rights being attacked, it's also good to learn knife self-defense and some kind of martial arts, too. Yeah, I suppose you're right, man. I suppose you're right. I went to a gun training class and they taught us knife skills. Well, they didn't do that. It was, I don't know. But anyway, it was cool. I think you're right about that, Justin Childers. It's good to have skills and train, for sure. You guys know stuff?
Some stuff. I got a fake, one of those training knives that when it'll just go in on itself.
Collapses.
It collapses on itself.
Yeah.
And I had the same kind of, I don't know if he means the same thing, but I was working with some friends and I'm like, guys, we gotta be prepared, man.
Right.
We gotta be prepared.
Yeah.
And so I hit them with, 'cause it kind of spawned, I don't know if you guys remember, people at home don't know, but I commonly go up to the employees around here and I stab them.
Oh, right, yeah.
Keep them aware.
Yeah.
And so
indeed.
I very often get them. I walk up right behind them and
nice.
I get them.
How about you? You know anything, Hassan?
Well, definitely as a youth, I really looked up to Raphael from the Ninja Turtles, and he had the size.
The angry one.
Yeah.
I lost my sai. Then it is gone. I can get it back. I can get it back. Raphael.
Yeah.
Raphael. Splinter.
So a little bit of
That's cool, man.
movement.
That's respectable. Let me double check Super's on the Rumble crew and
Can I read this comment from the chat?
please.
Robert says, I get the whole illegal immigration is out of control, but it seems to me that the JLP show in general is really wanting to bash the Latin community, illegal or not. Why is that?
Oh, because we like the Latin people. we bash those whom we like. I grew up amongst Hispanics. And that's most of who's around us, seemingly. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of Jews now in this particular neighborhood. I don't really hear Hassan bashing the Hispanics much. Oh, except for that one guy about the wall. But it's audience specific. He goes after who he's around, he's around.
It's proof of no racism.
Yeah.
He had no problem with the man. He was just trying to get in his head.
Anyone can get it.
True. Yeah, I don't know. That it might be a bit of your imagination, person who's in the
Robert.
Yeah, because
the chat.
I've noticed that. Think about Trump. Trump goes after everybody, but if he goes after a black woman and he's gone after more than one, they'll be like, Trump is going after black women. But reality, he goes after whoever's evil, and it just so happens black women disproportionately evil to him.
Tell us what you disagree about. 888-775.
Oh yeah, feel free to call in, man. Yeah, but not generally no malice. No malice. If we have malice, we're wrong. Mm-hmm. And if you always check how you're reacting to people and things, even if no matter how wrong we may be, check yourself on how you may be wrong in your reaction. That's the Christian way. Do we have time for this now? How long? I wanted to cover this Detroit break-in thing, but I don't have time. maybe in the next hour, we'll cover the Detroit break-in shooting. A 15-year-old. This was this was 9 years ago. Okay, but he got killed. That's terrible. I would like to play the knockout game Assaults from the 26th of March, 2014, 140326. Do you see that one? Number 3, knockout Assaults. This goes to what JLP was talking about yesterday in the throwback with Kyle Hunt. I think it was from the same day. So check this out. Let me know if that's ready. This is the throwback of JLP covering a story from 2014. Here it is. Enjoy.
The Blaze is reporting, get ready for this, folks. See, this is what makes me sick. Really, it really does. No wonder we're losing. The Blaze is reporting that the Christian charity World Vision, which is a Christian organization, announced they'll hire gay Christians who are legally married. World Vision announced they will be hiring same-sex couples who are legally married. And this is World Vision, a Christian organization. I've had it. No wonder we're losing. I can see God and his son, Jesus Christ, sitting up there right now, watching the big screen TV this morning, looking at the world with their cafe mocha and shaking their heads. They can't believe it. And I can hear little Jesus asking God, Father, where did I go wrong? What happened to my brothers and sisters and your children? World Vision announced they'll be hiring gay Christians who are, or same-sex couple who are so-called married. I've had it. Welcome back. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. I want to just play a few more of these knockout assaults that I started yesterday and ran out of time and could not finish them. Then I get to your calls. This is real important, folks, because white Americans are under attack by racist blacks. And there's no outcry about it. If it was the other way around, remember, Joyce, I remember the situation with that thug Trayvon Martin? Outcry throughout the whole country and the world. And Trayvon Martin was a thug. And George was not out looking for some black person that he can kill. Unlike these black gangster, untrained teenagers who are out there looking for white people that they can hurt and in some cases kill. Roving black mobs knock out assaults. And these are ages 8 to 16. I want to go to soundbite 7 and replay A and B, Andre. I played it yesterday. This is from Liberty News video report. 10-member teen and preteen gangs attack a Temple University couple who was just on a romantic walk. There is no outcry about it. We're in a mess, folks. We're not safe in this country internationally, and we're not safe nationally. In and out, we are in trouble. Both in and out. I want to get to these knockout games. I want to finish them. I started yesterday where violent black people are attacking innocent white folks and knocking them out, and in some cases killing them, knocking their teeth out with a brick. We have an incident of that. And there's no real outcry about it. This is hard. I was thinking of this last night. I can't believe it. And I don't know what it's going to take to get white folks to say no to this stuff. To say no. I want to just quickly get to a couple of these sound bites. The roving black mobs knock knockout assaults. And these mobs are from the ages of 8 to 16. These black people are. And we don't hear an outcry about it. This is from Temple University. 10 attackers aged 8 to 14 assaulted Temple University students with brick.
Beaten with a brick, Temple University students are confronted by a crowd and then attacked. A 19-year-old girl needed surgery. Good evening, I'm Denise Nakano. Tonight, police took the victims back to the scene of the crime. That attack happened just off campus. Now, the couple was walking at 16th and North Streets in North Philadelphia when they were confronted and followed for a block. And that's where NBC 10's Nefertiti Jack was. She's live at Central Detectives tonight, and you talked with the victims, Nefertiti.
Yeah, Denise, you know, the 19-year-old girl was too scared to go on camera, but her boyfriend is opening up. He asked us not to show his face, but he tells us that these young group of kids used a brick like this one to assault them and hurt her.
My instinct was just to stop them from trying to hurt us.
The 20-year-old victim can't remember exactly how many suspects attacked him and his girlfriend because he says it happened so fast.
A couple of them started to grab at her earrings and her hair.
It all started here at 16th and North around 6 p.m. yesterday across the street from Temple's athletic fields. The victims, who are both Temple students, were headed to grab a bite to eat. Then all of a sudden, police say a gang of about 10 kids walked up and started taunting the pair.
Screaming at us really loud. They said, "Hey guys, stop. Can you leave us alone? Stop following us. Go away."
But the group, which he says consisted of boys and girls ranging between 8 and 14 years old, wouldn't let up. Instead, he tells us they followed them an entire block before pouncing on them and taking a brick and smashing it in his girlfriend's face.
The teeth are out of place. It was terrible. It's terrifying.
Even though this reporter or these reporters are not saying the color of the people, the attackers were black, ages 8 through 14. 8 through 14. 8-year-old black thugs nowadays, folks, going after white people. The 19-year-old girl, a white girl, she was hit in the face with a brick. 20-year-old white boy hit in the face with a brick by 8 to 14-year-old black thugs. I want that to hit home for you. This could have been your daughter and son, 19-year-old and 20-year-old, walking down the road, not bothering anyone, but because of their color, they were attacked by haters, racist haters, and a brick thrown in her face. A brick, folks. The girl was rushed to the hospital and had surgery to save her teeth.
His girlfriend was actually rushed to the hospital and had to have emergency surgery to save and align her teeth. After she was released, both victims were brought back to the scene by detectives to try to remember more about what happened.
What scared me most was that there were a lot more of them than there were of us. So even though they're small kids, if they all had bricks, I mean, I might not be here talking to you right now.
Meantime, tonight, police are still looking for this group of young kids who, again, range in ages between 8 and 14 years old. They say they're trying to gather surveillance video from the area. That's the very latest outside of Central Detectives tonight. Nefertiti Jaquez, NBC 10 News.
The guy is almost crying. What a sad commentary, huh? Your daughter, your white daughter, and your white son taking a stroll. They're students at Temple University. You got a bunch of godless thugs, 8 to 14 years of age, ranging 8 to 14 years. Because of your color, this is worse than the KKK. It's worse because there was no reason back then for that to happen. There's no reason for this to be happening, folks. So we gave you the knockout assaults out of at Temple University. I want to go down to Iowa. Am I saying it right? Iowa. I'm black. I can get away with it. This is from Top Conservative News. Media desperate to censor string of black on white hate crimes attack. Here is the first soundbite on that.
Terrorist activity called the knockout game may have made its way to Iowa.
What happens is this: one or more persons attempt to knock out a victim with a single sucker punch. Iowa State had 2 such incidents just moments apart from each other. Our Vanessa Peng joins us from one of those locations up in Ames. Vanessa?
Kevin and Stacy, I'm at the 200 block of Stanton Avenue, and right behind me is where one of those alleged assaults happened. Now, that victim tells us right before he was attacked, he was scared, but thought he was overreacting.
About halfway down the block, a guy got out of a car and started following down the street.
Tony Benke relives the moments before he was attacked in the early hours of February 16th. It was sometime after 3:30 in the 200 block of Stanton Avenue in Ames.
He followed me pretty closely. He always sounded like he was increasing pace, and it kept scaring me.
The Iowa State sophomore slowed down and tried to let the man pass.
I heard him just right behind me, and I heard a couple steps, and then I felt a hit to my side, and I was on the ground.
Before he could get up, the suspects got away.
After he had hit me, him and his buddies started laughing, got in the car. He didn't steal anything, nothing like that. But it just seemed like a joke to them.
What Benke didn't realize was minutes before, another man was also assaulted at the intersection of Hayward Avenue and Knapp Street. That man suffered a broken jaw. Benke says he suffered a concussion. Sean White says it happened to his friend this past Saturday night, but he was lucky.
And he got out of the car and just run up, and he kind of punched him. He slipped on the ice as he punched him.
Police can't confirm the incidents are related to a knockout game, where the suspect attempts to knock out a victim with a single sucker punch, but can say they're similar.
These are young white people, too. You know, there's this thing with some black people, oh, they're just doing it to older white folks, as though that's okay. But this is happening. These are young white boys and girls that these assaults are happening to, and they're college students. This young man just walking down the road, bothering no one. Some racist blacks drive up in a car, attack him, knock him out, and jump back in the car, and just act like, oh, no big deal. And the media is not mentioning the color at all of these folks. Police can't confirm it's related to knockout game. How much confirmation do you need? If it was the other way around, confirmation would be all over the place. Listen to this.
There doesn't seem to be any other motivation for what happened. It wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a theft. It clearly was intent was just to assault.
Benke, though, is confident his attack was part of a knockout game.
It's still very scary. I can't walk home at night without thinking about it.
The suspect is described as a black male about 6 feet tall with medium-length dreadlocks with yellow tips or highlights. Now, victims say his getaway car was a 4-door black sedan, possibly a Buick. Now, anyone with information is asked to call the Ames Police Department at 239-5230 or 239-5133. Kevin?
Vanessa, thanks a lot.
Finally, one reporter said, black man, thank you. What do I have to do to get you to tell the truth when it comes to black people? Ames, is a small city that is only 3.4% black. In 2010, blacks made up 2.9% of our population. Yet, they committed 30.8% of our murders. Even though they were 2.9% of the population, they committed 30.8% of the murders. I rest my case. I absolutely rest my case. I rest my case.
This is the end of hour 2 already of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. What a great throwback, guys. The American Anchor Baby is coming up along with Joelle Friday TV and the Hake Report after the 3rd hour. We will be right back for hour 3. The Jesse Lee Peterson Show, guest hosted by Hake, Anchor Baby, and Hassan. To your calls and more throwbacks. Thank you, Jesse Lee. He was out of town for a few days here, for about a week. So we'll be right back. But first, it's Hake news, not fake news already. Can you believe it? Those IRS changes I told you about, the IRS is not going to knock on your door unannounced, I guess. The agency said on Monday, these tax collectors, right, and thieves, that they're making the change due to growing safety concerns for both employees who are increasingly dealing with hostile taxpayers. I wonder what the demographics of these hostile non-taxpayers, really, right? And Americans who are contending with an increase of scam artists posing as IRS agents. Typically, tens of thousands of unannounced visits take place each year. Under the new policy, less than a few hundred visits are expected to occur in special circumstances involving the seizure of assets, for instance. Sounds dangerous. Remember, they were arming those IRS agents as wild. Anyway, Israel's judicial reform. Are you interested in this? Well, too bad. I'm reading it to you. Israel's parliament on Monday passed a law stripping the so-called Supreme Court of Israel of its power to block government decisions, despite 6 months of protests from over the controversial, which usually means on its way toward reasonable, plan. The bill passed by a vote of 64-0 in the Knesset. Wow. After opposition lawmakers walked out of the chamber as the vote was taking place. Analysts are calling the measure the most significant shakeup of the court system since the country's founding. Video showed Israeli police firing water cannons. Nice. Sick dogs on them, too, at anti-government protesters as they formed human chains. So female, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Meanwhile, the black on the inside White House called the vote unfortunate. Of course, meddling black on the inside Joe Biden, right? Emphasizing they will continue to support the efforts of President Herzog, not Netanyahu. Not Prime Minister Netanyahu, but President Herzog and other Israeli leaders as they seek to build a broader consensus through political dialogue. Man, what a mess. Moviegoers spotted a blooper in Oppenheimer. Eagle-eyed fans, according to Call Me Nonsense Network, noticed that some American flags used in the film bore the wrong number of stars. Whoa. Trader Joe's has recalled 2 types of cookies that may contain rocks. What a mess. So watch out. And approximately 50 million, it's hot out, 50 million people in the United States will see temperatures top 100 degrees this week, Fahrenheit. Forecasts show this comes as doctors across the nation are dealing with an uptick in heat-related illnesses, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, whatever those things are. Temperature, so drink your water and get your sleep and get tough. Temperatures are particularly dangerous in Arizona, where doctors have reported a spike in patients burned by just falling on the ground. Ooh, man, that hot asphalt. Or whatever it is that's hot. No word on that defected soldier, I guess. Here's a quote shared by Call Me Nonsense Network. I'm not aware of any new communications, said State Department spokesman Matt Miller, saying Monday that North Korea has remained silent on the so-called American soldier who crossed into North Korea last week. Court documents show that Private Travis King, believed to be the first U.S. soldier to cross into North Korea since 1982, had a history of assault. He was facing disciplinary action and was meant to return to the United States the day before the incident. His motive for crossing the demarcation line is still a mystery, but some called it a defection. He was defecting. Maybe he just didn't want to go back home and face the discipline of America. Maybe he won't like the discipline in North Korea. Maybe he'll come back and kiss the ground if he survives. There have been people who've died. Trump honored a guy who went over there trying to pull down stuff like posters and things, right? And he died, but Trump honored his parents, I guess. Anyway, I'm James Hake. Now back to JLP, guest hosted Hour 3. uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am James Hake, filling in for Jesse Lee Peterson on the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, alongside Hassan and Nick, the American anchor baby. JLP, if you don't know, he's out of town for several days here. He should be back next Tuesday, okay? That is what I believe will happen, if the Lord be willing and the creek does not rise. Just taking care of some business. Sean, as well, is out for a few days here. So this is Country and Western Tuesday, by the way, guys. Nice. You can call in 888-775-3773. We're playing some replays, some throwbacks, but we're also taking your calls and reading your super chats. I appreciate that. You can super chat by going to jesseleepeterson.live or buymeacoffee.com/JLPtalk. Or if you're on Rumble, I believe you can do it on Rumble. You can do it on DLive. Yeah, you can do it on DLive. And other ways. Odyssey, too. Odyssey has super chats, too. Nice. Let's do the country and western intro first, though. Jesse goes west. What a mess. He made a fall on his face. Beta! What the? Hey.
Amazing.
Country Western Tuesday. And now JLP, the doll JLP, the fully posable 12-inch action figure, has a real cowboy hat on now. Very nice. Very cool. And he has his big old repeater rifle. So cool. Guys.
Amazing.
Nice. We're going to get to some calls here. Detroit, out of Detroit, Michigan. I have a caller on that story that we played for you yesterday from 2014, Steve Utash. White man was driving in Detroit, and a 11 or 10-year-old young boy, got hit by him because he darted out in traffic or stuck out his leg or was playing chicken, maybe allegedly. Who knows? And Steve Utash, this white man, stopped to help the guy. And all these blacks, young teens, allegedly, some of them adults, started beating him, put him in a coma. Thankfully, a black lady nurse, armed in Detroit, smart decision, said, stop that. Nobody beat him no more. And so right on to the good blacks. Al is in Detroit, wants to talk about playing chicken with trucks. Al, thanks for calling. You're on the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, guest hosted by Hake and the rest of us. What's up, man?
Hey, James. First of all, happy birthday.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I know everybody's, I haven't heard people say that this year, but...
yeah, my birthday was just a week and a day ago. I'm 42 now. I know, people, it has died down. It was my birthday every day of the year for a couple of years there.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Hey, but I have family who lives down there. Actually, my grandmother was had a house down there that my brother was living in at the time. And these kids, they play chicken. They do exactly what you said. They play chicken. And the idea was to touch the car's fender as close to the front as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've actually witnessed that because I had a mobile business and I did business down in that area. And it was not uncommon to have like 8 or 9 kids out there running into the street, touching the car. And finally, one of the kids got hit.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said. But see, what happened is they had the video, but again, the media doesn't give the video out.
Right.
And so it wasn't until after. I mean, the protest. I went down to the hospital because the hospital is only about a mile away, where the guy was taken. The protest down there were like 18 to 20 people.
Wow.
In support of this guy.
In support of the white man?
It was a white man, yeah. And he was in a coma for over 2 weeks.
Yep.
And he had severe brain damage. And I'm surprised how long ago. I didn't realize it was that long ago. But
yeah,
I don't know whatever his results were, and I didn't Google it because that's just cheap way of figuring it out.
Right.
But it was sad, and the woman did live 2 houses away, and she threw herself on his body to stop them from kicking it.
Wow.
And finally, until she showed the gun, they were continuing to kick underneath her.
That's crazy.
And,
yeah,
it's terrible.
I searched it. I don't see much update, but other than from 2014, I know that 2 were sentenced in that mob beating of the Detroit motorists, according to CBS News from July 7th of 2014. Up to 10 years in prison for one assailant, probation for another. 5 were convicted of attacking him when he stopped to check on the black boy.
It's not the answer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
This kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And I think what ends up happening is it pushes us all back trying to get to harmony.
Right.
Because I don't have to do work in that area. I have plenty of work. I choose to do that. My brother chooses to live in the area still.
Yeah.
And there is this. It's a phenomenon. It is really bizarre. And I can tell you
I remember I was a little kid. I got spanked for crossing the street on a little cul-de-sac, dead-end street, without looking both ways.
Exactly.
And so I started to look both ways. Now they're just showing utter disrespect.
Not to get off the point, but it is really, it's hard to, because now I'm 63.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting with guys from high school, and it's always a topic. The local news is always a topic.
Yeah.
That nothing's changed. 45 years ago, it was the same thing. Now we've had the alumni have had the football coach contact us and ask us to donate cleats for the football team.
Wow.
And the cleats they're asking for are $30. And these kids, I mean, the minimum wage here is $15 to work at McDonald's.
Right. So that's 2 hours of work.
Yeah, it's 2 hours of work. And they actually called us and said, hey, can you come and donate it? Because the kids don't have anything. I'm like, how can you not have $30?
Right.
When I bought my football cleats my senior year, I had to work over 20 hours to get the money to pay for them.
Yeah.
And today it's 2 hours. It's absolutely incredible. But, that's what happens when you constantly give, and I constantly give too. So
yeah,
maybe I'm not any help, but there are people who need a hand, and I'm happy to lend a hand. But, it's up to them. It's up to all of us to not to overreact. And
right.
Thanks to Jesse, I tell you, I sleep great at night. My wife can't believe it, and I tell people all the time, just have to quit being angry and quit hating people, and it makes a big difference. So keep up the good work, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Great call, Al.
I'll talk to Jesse next week. Thanks.
That sounds good.
All right.
Bye. Al in Detroit telling the truth about those kids. They should be working. What are these child labor laws? They're going overboard with these child labor laws, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Johnny is in South Dakota. He's on the line. Johnny, thanks for calling. You're live on the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, guest hosted by Hake. And Nick and Hassan are around here. What's up, man?
Yes, Mr. Hake, I had to call in because I'm responding to the guy saying that Jesse was picking on the Hispanics, and then you mentioned you grew up in a Hispanic neighborhood.
Right.
Well, I did. I grew up in El Sereno, California. I'm Jesse's age.
Okay.
And I wanted to share some history with you. See, the Founding Fathers, and this relates to Jesse saying that sometimes brown people move in and they wouldn't wreck it.
Right.
The founding fathers that made El Sereno, California, that's right by Alhambra.
Yeah.
There was a real estate covenant where they wouldn't sell to the Hispanics in the 30s. And they looked around at Boyle Heights and Lincoln Heights and said, we don't want to move it in here, they'll wreck the neighborhood. So the Supreme Court in 1948 said you can't have these, they're racist. So what happens? The Mexicans moved in and wrecked the neighborhood.
Wow. What a mess.
And I want to tell you something. When I grew up, El Sereno had wooden walk bridges over streams, lakes, a streetcar going down the street. Jesse saying white people build. It was paradise.
Yeah.
And I love all people now, and I love Hispanics. Are great. Some are really great people.
Yeah.
But I did resent them when I was young because they moved in and wrecked the place. I had to overcome that.
Right. Yep.
And I got over that.
Nice.
But the truth is, they did wreck the place.
Yeah.
And we had to move out. Murders came up, and then they were shooting me with a BB gun and stuff. So I had a little resentment when I was younger.
Understandable. But that's interesting too. Are you a white man?
Yeah, I'm white. You white?
And it's interesting. They point out, those angry white men, but they don't point out the bad that the other people are doing to provoke that anger or make that anger rise up and flash out. And yes, we should hold the angry white men responsible not to be angry, but we also got to deal with the woman too, or the minorities too, because they're angry and evil as well. And that's, if you're not dealing with the real problem, if you're only going after the angry racist white man, and that's that dishonesty.
Yeah, so no. I just want to call in because that guy that made a comment that Jesse hates, picks on Hispanics. No, that's not true. I believe, but I'm living proof of Jesse saying they wrecked the neighborhood.
Yep.
And I'm living proof that women my ex-wife turned the kids against me. They never speak to me. Yeah. So there's a lot of things I'm living proof to what Jesse says, and I had to call.
A living witness.
Had to call up. Yeah. Yes, they turn kids against the father.
Yeah.
Yes, the black and browns wrecked the neighborhood. You go to El Sereno right now, it's 86%. I'm sorry. 86% Hispanic, and you might get shot.
Yeah.
It's wrecked. They built beautiful. It was paradise when I grew up. I was in the 7th grade. It was all Hispanic. The 12th grade, where my sister, she was older than me, it was all white. So it was a changing neighborhood, very interesting experience.
Yeah. Tucker Carlson was right about the changing of demographics, and you're messing up society. It's terrible.
Yeah, and the founding fathers, they were right they weren't racist. They said, we don't want to wreck the place we built.
Right.
But they were called racist, and the Supreme Court said that was racist. But they had a point.
Right.
Go to El Sereno. God love my old town, but go to El Sereno now and look around. It wasn't that way. I'm Jesse's age. It was a paradise at one time. I just wanted to share the little history of El Sereno, California.
This is a great call too, especially because you're able to find paradise within and overcome the anger about it.
No, I look at everybody individually, and just because a lot of them wreck my hometown, I see a person, see the spirit every time they're in front of me.
Yeah. I
just look at the spirit. And but there are some characteristics
for sure.
And we can't. So this is. That guy that made a comment. No, there's some truth to what Jesse says about wrecking a neighborhood, and boy, mine was wrecked. Hey, do you mind me asking what town you grew up in and was Hispanic? Or can you say?
I was raised in Temple City, but I went to school in El Monte. So Temple City is a little bit more white, Asian, and then El Monte is more Hispanic and Asian.
Well, no, I'm from El Sereno.
Yeah.
My mother, when we moved out, we moved to Temple City.
Okay. Yeah, a lot. That's interesting, man.
Yeah, I used to cruise Valley Boulevard. Okay, Hake, I love you, man. Take care.
Appreciate you,
job.
Johnny. Take care. Johnny in South Dakota, originally from El Sereno, right next to Alhambra. That's east of East LA. Alhambra is where one of those Chinese people shot up the Chinese, I think. In Alhambra and Monterey Park. My bag. Is it my bag or my bad? But it's nice to hear a man who's older and better, not bitter. Isn't that nice? That was a refreshing aspect of the call, in addition to the truth, the refreshing truth about demographics and cities. Tyler's in California on the line. Tyler, thanks for calling and holding. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, James?
Going well.
I'm on the phone. Hey, how's it going, James?
Hey.
Bro, so, yeah, there's these places in California where people live to be 100 years old. They're called blue zones, right?
Blue zones. As
yeah,
in
both
clean?
The men and the, what?
As in clean?
I have no idea.
Okay.
blue is in this color blue.
Right. But not Democrat blue. Blue as in the sky is blue.
Blue as in, they're called blue zones, and they're all over the world, and in these areas, people live to be over 100.
That's awesome. That's nice.
The men and the women live to be over 100.
That's cool. Do they happen to be more agricultural, like they work all their lives with their bodies?
There's one in California. All I know is that, like, everyone, they go to church together.
Oh, cool.
Which doesn't really mean anything to me, but they all go to church together, so that means they got a lot of friends.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if this is true, but a bunch of them, take long walks, and, they have friends. They take walks, and they eat kind of healthy, right?
Yeah. Walking is good for the body, and exercise, and staying active and eating right.
And the reason I bring this up is because if you live outside of these zones, right, you're not going to live that long. You might live like 60 years. In fact, generally, most people are living less.
Yeah.
Shorter lifespans, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's because of a bunch of reasons, all right?
Yeah.
Now, that's what I called in for. Hey, guys, thanks for having me on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Tyler. Take care. It's true, though. I mean, it's good to be healthy. You want to take care of your body, your temple. And it's not, I don't know if it's necessarily just where you live, but it's where you live, it kind of matters. You know, these poor blacks, you hear about them living in these areas where they have power lines or something that's causing the brain cancer, stuff like that. These cell phone towers, 5G, or who knows what, lead in the paint, messed up water. Part of it's their own fault. And what are the reasons? Ask Rational Thought 83. Anyway. Yeah, take care of yourself. Joe is in Texas, a first-time caller. What's up, Joe? Thanks for calling. You're live with...
Hey, sir,
Hake.
how you doing today?
Doing well.
My question to you, sir, is do you think that Larry Elder or Marjorie Taylor Greene should be Donald Trump's vice president?
No, I personally don't think either of them ought to be Trump's vice president, especially not Marjorie Greene, because she's a woman, and she's a bit messy for my taste, although I do consider her a queen. Larry Elder, he's untested, you know, in terms of running stuff. He has a great radio show, and he tells the truth, and I voted for him for California governor. But I don't think he's ready at this point. How about you? What do you think?
I think Larry Elder fits. I think character-wise, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think personality. That's why I think one of them should be vice president. That's my thought process.
He has a pretty good character. As far as I can tell, Larry Elder does. Marjorie Greene I heard she's going through a divorce, which I wish her well with that and her husband well. It's a mess. because she, in my opinion, she shouldn't really be in office. You know, she should be a lady. I totally like her and appreciate her for the stands that she takes, but be a lady, in my opinion. Outside looking in, I don't know her that well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
One quick before I go.
Okay.
Do you think that Joe Biden is senile, delusional?
I don't necessarily know, but I think that he acts seemingly that way. In my unprofessional opinion, he does seem off in that way. Senile. Yes, he does. I do kind of suspect that. If that answers your question. How about you?
I think he'll win the primary. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I don't think should be running.
Oh,
and
really?
then on the Republican side, I think Donald Trump will win the primary. I think the other candidates are not as strong. I think Christie may attack President Trump, but I don't think he'll win the primary, the Republican primary. I think Donald Trump will win it, and we'll have Joe versus Trump in the general election. And if it goes Trump way, Trump wins. If it goes Biden way, Biden wins. Doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I think that's a realistic prediction, man. We'll see what happens. But I'm with you on that.
What's your thoughts?
100% exactly what you said. I think that I think Trump will be the nominee. I think Biden will be the nominee if he makes it, unless there's some shakeup where they say, oh, he's not fit or something. But I would be surprised if that were to happen, but not excessively surprised. I would be quite surprised if Trump were not to win the Republican primary.
I think he's gonna win easily. I mean,
yeah.
I don't look too much at the polls on TV. I just look at it on the computer. You look at Dave Rabbit had him at 62%, DeSantis at 30%. So that's just basically what I look at. So
Nice,
you
man.
have a great day, sir.
You too, Joe, in Texas. Take care. Thanks for the call.
Okay.
Bye. Guys, I want to play this JLP throwback from 2014 about Detroit break-in and shooting of a teen. About 29 minutes, probably going to be the remainder of the show. So enjoy from 2014 JLP on Detroit.
Remember Detroit, right? It was funny. It was funny to me. On Friday, when we were talking about whether Jesus was white or black Jewish Jesus, and I said, well, there's no way Jesus Christ could have been black. Because if Jesus Christ was black, we would have heard about it, because there have been people who have died and gone to heaven, they said, and they walked around and looked around, and they returned back to earth for whatever reason. And nobody said that heaven looked like a ghetto. And I know they're not all landing in the suburbs of heavens. Somebody would have come in contact with the ghetto up there. And so that's my proof that Jesus was not black, because heaven would look like Detroit, I believe, if Jesus was black. Well, folks had a hissy fit about that. It was amazing. It's amazing that the anger that people feel or act upon because they disagree with you. Here is, and most people know now that Detroit looked like Beirut, looked like Iraq. And it's because the jobs left, and also the jobs left, and also the government, the local government there was taken over by black people. They were running the government. and they were as corrupt as one could possibly be. Entitlements, I mean, just through the roof. The mayor locked up, and just and other representatives there locked up in jail because of their corruption. Normal folks left Detroit. They got out of Detroit. I even have friends and family members who left Detroit and went back to Alabama because they were afraid living there. And now, I believe Detroit, and at least in the suburb, the city area there, the urban area is 80% black. I think I'm right about that, Andre. Give me those facts to be sure here. And I have to tell you, the last place you would want to land or end up in is Detroit. It is out of control. It is so out of control that the homeowners there are praised by the police officer for carrying guns and shooting these thugs when they're trying to break into their homes, because the police officers can't be everywhere at one time. And day in and day out, it is home invasions like 90 going north in Detroit, 82.7% black. My question is, if it's true, I know it's not true, but I'm just saying for those who think that it is true, that the white man is holding black people back. They own the city of Detroit. Why don't we see goodness coming out of these people? There are no white people there to hold them back. They have control of the government, the police department, and I believe they have a white Democratic mayor right now. They recently elected one because all the others failed. If black people can do so well, why not take Detroit and make it a place where everybody would want to go? It would be the shiny city of the country, and everybody would be proud because black Americans took Detroit and showed that they can do as well or better than the white man. You have a black president, he'll give you all the money you need to make it right, even though that's not going to work because they had money. Look what the black politicians did with it. Yeah, they have a white mayor now, a white man by the name of Mike Dugan. I believe that's how you say his last name. And but why? Why? Right now, there are nothing but opportunities in Detroit, the city of Detroit. Just imagine the impression that it would send to the world if black people took Detroit and showed that they have the power and the decency and the know-how to run a city, make it beautiful, make it so that everybody and their mama will want to visit. It's not going to happen because it's not in their nature. It's in their nature to destroy, not to build up. I'm just saying, and I'm pointing it out because if I point it out, it can get better. Hopefully, people say, oh, yeah, that's right. That makes sense. Let's do it right. Let's stop destroying everything and build things up. This is from Fox 2, Detroit. Soundbite number 1 there, Andre. A suspected intruder killed by a homeowner was 15 years old. A 15-year-old black boy, according to this report, a 15-year-old boy with a 19-year-old woman broke into somebody's home there in Detroit, and they shot and killed the 15-year-old. Listen to this report.
A teenager shot and killed after a homeowner catches him and a teenage girl breaking into his house.
But tonight, the young man's family is speaking out, telling Fox 2's Mario Liu there is much more to this story.
The Wayne County medical examiner waiting for family to step forward and identify the body of a teenager killed during a home invasion. The story has taken a tragic turn. Fox 2 has learned he died from multiple gunshot wounds and he was only 15 years old.
You can't judge no kid when he trying to find himself.
Sometimes kids find themselves in the wrong place, making decisions they can never take back. 15-year-old DeMonte Moorer was killed Wednesday, breaking into a house on Detroit's west side.
Our preliminary investigation right now is suggesting that they were inside of the home. However, once the homeowner started shooting, they fled the location.
Moorer was not alone. His friend, a 19-year-old girl, was also shot in the leg during the break-in. Motor City Youth football coach Jermaine Scott says it's the same girl DeMonte wanted to skip practice to meet. But Coach Scott had a bad feeling.
It was our first day of practice. I was just praying to him, like, little bro, come on. I know you. Let's get it together. He didn't want to play. He wanted to leave and go meet the girl then. Like, I want to go hang out, coach. I'm like, be on this field, bro. This is for you. Then he died. That's why we be trying to save these kids' lives. We try.
You can't judge no kid when you trying to find himself. What an idiot. You can't judge no kid when you're trying to find himself. So this thug is breaking into your home, or has broken in according to the report. And you're going to say, you know what? I'm just going to let you do what you want in my home. And because I realize you're trying to find yourself. Was he trying to find himself inside somebody else's home? What an idiot. And he called himself a football coach or something. The coach is as dumb as the kid that's dead. We're talking about this 15-year-old boy with a 19-year-old girl or woman broke into a home there in Detroit. The boy was killed, shot dead, hallelujah. And the coach talking, the football coach said, you can't judge no kid. He's trying to find himself. Himself. It should be himself, but that's okay. Making up excuses for these folks. Will there come a day when blacks stop making excuses for their failures? Because as long as you make an excuse, you're never going to get better. Here is yet some more excuses. The boy's mama, Devonna, I believe her name is, Webb, listen to what she and the godmother had to say about this thug that is now out of the way of the good folks in Detroit.
Devonna Webb, once a mother of 9, now burying a child. Late Thursday, she identified her son's body.
Today we went to identify the body, and it was him. He was already on the screen, and we sat there for a minute, and everybody just cried. It was a good 15 of us in the room.
Devonna has not yet talked to police, but believes there's more to the story. She said her son is easily influenced and was manipulated into breaking into this home. She says the 19-year-old girl knew the homeowner and broke into the house to retrieve her own things. Police have not confirmed that story and say for now the homeowner is not facing charges.
You took somebody's child, 15 years old.
Give me a break.
Nothing in your house was that valuable to take a kid's life.
What an
idiot. We're going to get justice and we're going to get to the bottom of this.
Mario Liu, Fox 2 News.
Nothing in your house was worth taking a child's life. First of all, lady, that wasn't a child. That was a thug, a thief, a criminal breaking into someone's home. Are you crazy? And I now wonder if Obama had a son, would he look like that thug? Making excuses. Why didn't the mother raise the child in a way where he would not break into someone's home putting his own life at risk. Are you crazy, lady? What a dumb stepmother, godmother, and mother. Making excuses for their failure. That's what it is. Do you know that when I was growing up under Jim Crow laws, I never heard of a home invasion? Ain't nobody broken nobody's homes. And in those days, we didn't even have locks on the doors. You were raised not to break in someone. It didn't even cross our mind to do that. And this, well, I ain't gonna call the names. Oh, just on the tip of my tongue. It has something to do with weight. But I won't say it.
I pity the fool.
There's somebody, ain't nothing in your home so valuable. You have to take a child's life. My life is in my home. How do I know this child wasn't going to take my life? Now, this thug could have been breaking into the home, could rape my daughter, rape my wife, rob me, kill me, and it's a child's life. My TV is important. I bought the TV not from some black thug to break in and take it. Because I seriously doubt if both parents are there with this, was there with him. This woman got 9 children, according to a report. I'm wondering if the government is paying for all of them. And she's making up excuses for her failure. This woman should be on TV saying, you know what? My 50-year-old son got what he deserved. I told that boy don't be breaking into nobody's home. Especially here in Detroit, people are already scared. I was just so scared. I told him not to, but we all crying. What an idiot. These people in Detroit have no shame, folks. Congratulations to the woman who shot this boy to protect herself. Congratulations. Okay. And it goes on and on, folks. I have some more stuff to share with you, but I want to take some calls. 888-77. What are you saying, James? What are you telling me?
I need a drink and a quick decision.
We just saw a Detroit story where homeowners have shot and killed intruders. It's a trend that they had warned about. That's true. They've been warned about this. The thugs have been warned. You got to get killed if you break into somebody's home. The police made it clear. Homeowners have guns now, and they're okay to use them. It's okay for them to protect themselves. The police chief made it clear, and yet the thugs didn't listen. Maybe they didn't believe it. And this stupid woman tried to blame it on somebody else. I don't know. Let me go and talk to Tony out of Detroit. He's our man on the streets there. Tony, good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I don't know if they talked about the young lady who broke in with him, but yeah. she got shot too. So
hallelujah. Is she dead?
No, I think she lost her leg though, because it was a rifle that was used in shooting him. And then even last night, right down in the next block from here, there was another guy who was breaking in somebody's house last night at must have been about 9:30 last night. It was a gentleman in the house. They cut him down at the side door as soon as he came across the threshold.
Good.
And I mean, this is just a few hours ago, last night. But the thing,
isn't those thugs are not aware that the police chief said that, you know what, watch out, the homeowners are armed now?
They're too busy listening to the stupid music and nothing else. And the ministers that are here, like I was telling you last week about the David Bullock that come on your show, the next time you get him on the show, ask him how come the ministers have not put a warning out to these people or walk the streets with these people instead of getting involved in all this other nonsense. Because not only do these people here in Detroit, not only are these homeowners here shooting them, they're wishing that these young people or anybody would just come near their home and they can just shoot them up. I mean, that's how these people are walking around. just like that.
Wow. And this young woman, this 19-year-old that broke in with the 15-year-old, she was shot in the leg. I didn't know about that, hear about that.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't know she lost her leg.
Leg is gone.
Good.
Yeah. But I want to make you made a statement about
Hold that point. Let me take a quick break, Tony. We'll come back, and we'll get to everybody after this break. That gal, I know she can sing. That's a singing gal. As my grandmother would say. My grandmother's still living, through me. Long live Grandma. Tony, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, yeah, I was saying that you were saying the opportunity that was in Detroit. Well, I just wanted to make an example that the federal government knew they weren't going to ever do anything for the city, so they sent, I think it was Joe Biden and Conyers to a church in Detroit with this $350 million Detroit package, which they have not seen a penny of that, not one dime of it, and it's not coming. And there's another thing. Police cars, the EMT trucks were breaking down, going to scenes, leaving scenes. So there was a gentleman, but there was a gentleman by the name of Roger Penske who bought all of these vehicles for the Detroit Police Department and the Detroit Fire Department. So what happened was, a month after they had their parade with the cars, the people were still upset because police still weren't making it to the scene on time because the cars were still breaking down. Come to find out, the only people driving the new cars were the lieutenants and the precinct commanders, and they had all the other cars put behind. They had Roger Penske had to scream at the city of Detroit to get them to get the cars on the street. But that's politics in Detroit.
Did this happen under Kwame Kirkpatrick?
No, this was just since the financial manager's been here. They wouldn't give Roger Penske wouldn't have did anything for Kwame Kirkpatrick like that. Don't think he knew better than that. But that's since the financial manager got it.
So the financial manager is not working either. It's not working.
He's doing the best he can, but what can you do when you need 25 cents and you only got 2 cents, $2? You only had 2 cents and you need 25 cents. You can't do anything.
That's amazing.
All he's thinking about now is just selling all the selling the water. Matter of fact, he's just thinking about selling the whole city off. Forget it.
Wow. That is wild. Let me ask Tony. You're black and I'm black. Right. And I don't want you to say what you think. I want to hear. I really want your honest opinion. What is wrong, or do you think anything is wrong with black Americans, not all but most, that they only know how to create ghettos? What is wrong?
That is like a wonderful question that you asked, because I really couldn't put my hand on it, because I know I can just go by from here in Detroit. There are 3,000 plus churches in this city, and that's no joke. And the poorest city in the world, there's 3,000 churches. So
are there 3,000 black churches or churches overall?
You can say churches overall, but 2,900 of them are black. So let's put it like that. But honestly, I'm telling you, I have absolutely, I could not tell you, but I know here you're just dealing with an illiteracy rate of close to 70%, maybe more. So when you don't have any education, that's definitely everybody's going to be lost.
And education is very important, but it's also due to the lack of moral values, because when I was growing up, we were not that educated as far as school was concerned, right? But we had the values that respected one another and respected other people's property, and we had that going on. And I believe if black people in Detroit had that, they can rebuild Detroit and make it a beautiful city.
Well, if you came to Detroit and you talk to most of the young men on the street, they don't even know who their fathers are. But and I'm thinking the gentleman that was talking, who was talking about the coach that was talking about the boy, I would love to walk up to that coach and ask him about his own children.
Yes.
And see, that would tell me 1,000,001 things about him.
That's a dumb coach. A coach going to say, well, he was trying to find himself. He's only trying to find, he found hell.
Yeah, he found himself. He wasn't trying to find himself. He found himself.
I'm telling you.
Good.
Wow.
But I just have to ask them, any gentleman that I see that is mentoring children, I always want to ask them about their children. And then when they ask me about mine, I can just tell them mine's an officer in the United States Navy. So we can leave him alone. But he didn't grow up in the city of Detroit either. So
thank you, man. You're right on. That's what we need. We need to return back. Blacks need to return back to values, man. It's the principles.
I agree.
Because Obama is so-called educated. Look how dumb he is. Look how he is turning America into a ghetto. So it takes a little bit more than just education. It takes values. It takes principles. It takes good family example. Thank you, Tony.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Amazing stuff. Sandra out of Michigan. Welcome to Raw Line there. Sandra, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jesse.
Morning.
Hey, I used to live just outside of Detroit, and for a while I lived in Detroit on Verner and Livernois. So I'm familiar with Detroit, but it's been a failing city for years and years and years. But at one time it was thriving when you had all the executive heads of the auto industry had their offices there and huge department stores and different businesses. But when they took their offices and moved out of the city economically died.
But
and you've always had mayors that just economically took advantage and filled their own pockets with the monies.
Were these black mayors or whites?
Black.
Wow.
The last one, Cole, this was years ago, he was voted in year after year after year. And, he had a mistress. She had her on the payroll. He was pocketing money.
Wow.
He was just as bad as Kwame Kilpatrick, and it goes on forever and ever and ever.
One reason for that is because those black politicians know that the black voters are not going to vote them out, even after they find out that their politicians are corrupt. Right. They're going to still vote them in simply because they're black. And this is why, yet another reason black people need to get over their blackness.
Well, you know why one reason people can't get over their blackness? And we had a speaker, Shelby Steele.
Good man.
Yeah, you know him.
Yes.
Yeah, he wrote the book, The New Segregation. And he gave a speech talking about black grievance. And he said, black people have to get over their anger. And he said, once I got over my anger, I could come to terms with my own personal development.
Absolutely.
And he's a senior fellow at Stanford Hoover Institution, which is the think tank of Stanford University.
He's a smart, wise black man.
Yeah. But what he's saying is the Black Power movement.
Sandra, thank you. I got to take a break. Thanks for your call. Sorry about that. Back in a moment, folks. Sandra, thanks for your call. We ran out of time there. You were right about Chevy Steele. A black man I respect, and I think he is a true American. And he's right about once you get over your anger, then you start to self-examine. Self-examination. And that's nothing like that. I wrote a book about that, From Rage to Responsibility. From Rage to Responsibility. What anger did to me and how I was able to overcome it. And then focus became me. How do I get, my life going here? But anger prevents you from looking at yourself. You got to get over the anger. From Rage to Responsibility, I highly recommend. It's for all. And I highly recommend you get a copy of that. My books, From Rage to Responsibility. You can get it at Amazon.com or you get the ebook edition. Go to Amazon.com or bondinfo.org. Let me Preachers in the Pulpit coming up next. If you're not getting all 3 hours of my show by way of radio, go to bondinfo.org. Continue to listen live. Maze, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jesse.
Morning, Maze.
We're having a conversation about Detroit, and they're going to sell it. I wonder who's going to make the benefits from the money that they sell when they sell Detroit. And also, I want to ask Sandra,
who's going to make the money from selling Detroit?
Yes.
The sellers.
Yeah, the ones that own it.
Whomever owns it. Yeah, normally that's how it works. Okay. If you own something and then you sell it, then you get the money from it. Normally that's how it goes. Now, under Barack Obama, that may have changed too.
Just like the one you were talking to Friday that didn't even pay $1 million on the land and over there screaming and hollering somebody taking it from it. But just, I have one question for Sandra.
What's that?
If she's concerned about what our community do, I want her to explain to me, her Bible Go-To guy, to come on here and tell us why this man cheated on his wife, broke up 2 families, and that boy that went through and stabbed up all of those kids in the rural area, they don't have a problem with them, I don't guess.
And how
This
would
is
that?
America, so why don't we discuss the problems more than black people have since they're in the conversation?
And
That's what I
how would
want.
that help Detroit?
How would it help Detroit?
Uh-huh.
How would it help anywhere? Detroit, New York, or anywhere else?
If you
Just
talked
like
about a white man who cheated on his wife, and Detroit that is now ghetto to the max, caused by black people, how would that help blacks in Detroit?
This young kid that went into the school last week, you hadn't said a word about it.
No,
You
you're not
hadn't
answering the
all those
question.
kids. You were
I
talking
said,
about kids in
how would
Detroit.
that help Detroit?
I would like for Sonia to tell me, and we'll see how it will help her people. It's all about, anytime somebody commits crime, it's all about black people. You talked about crime, not what went with Detroit. Because you have people in other states that stole and did things.
You
but
said
don't have
we
to
didn't
come
say a
and
word
like
about
her.
the killing. We
No, you
did
didn't say nothing about the
we
stabbing
did
either.
say a word about the stabbing.
What did you say about- what did you
I
say,
said
Jesse?
now the
Are they
Democrats
thugs?
don't want to ban knives.
No, I'm asking, are they thugs or what was he? He's still alive. You didn't say, I wish he would have died. during
I
the
gotta
time
go,
he was
man.
having those-
I gotta take a break. Back in a moment, folks. What kind of mentality thinks that if you're going to talk about black people, you need to talk about white people too? And they're going to be mad at you because you don't bring up white people problems when you're dealing with black people problems. How is that going to make black people issues better? I really like to know that. Mays said, well, I want to ask Sandra about white people problem. That's amazing to me. Where is that kind of mentality coming from? You're not going to get better, black Americans, by talking about what white people are doing wrong too. When you go to God to repent, do you say, oh, my Father, forgive me, for I have sinned, but the white man did it too? If that's how you do it? That is mind-blowing to me.
That was the JLP throwback, guys. A jarring white face in your face. I am James Hake, filling in for JLP. What a nice throwback, talking about the mess in Detroit and around the country in the black community. Everybody got to look at themselves. Whites got to look at themselves. Blacks got to look at themselves. You know, before I get back to calls, I may or may not be able to get back to the calls. I want to finish up the last of the super chats for the Jesse Lee Peterson show. We are going to have the Hake report right after. So if you want to talk to Hake on air, you can call Hake on the Hake report. After that, I believe Hassan will be filling in for Joel Friday TV, which is on Tuesdays. And so that's cool. You can catch Joel's church filling in church service from this past Sunday, rebuildingtheman.com/church. And of course, American Anchor Baby after Joel Friday, guest hosted, I think, by Hassan. Time for some the last of the super chats.
Super chats.
Detroit died, white boy left, live in the aftermath or fix it? Asks Nordic Prince. Yeah. Star Sion bought a coffee. Is the bear still there from the old videos of Jesse, or y'all throw him away? The bear is here. The teddy bear. Nice. Guys. This has been...
Sion, do you know it's wood? It's a wood bear.
It's literally wood, and it's pretty heavy. I just wanted to I picked it up gingerly because I didn't want it to fall apart because I wasn't sure. But guys, this has been the, thank you for your super chats. This has been the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Jesse Lee will be back on next Tuesday is the plan, okay? Callers, Rob in Canada wanted to talk about apartheid in Africa. First time caller, call me tomorrow or stay on hold if you want to talk to Hake, I guess. Rick in Hampton, Virginia wanted to talk about Carly Russell, the alleged liar. She admitted to lying through her lawyer about being kidnapped. Isa in California wanted to ask what's wrong with the blacks. I cannot get to you. This has been JLP. Do the silent prayer and whatever else JLP says to do. Stay with it. Adios, America. Bye.
So you get something went wrong, but
check. I had to get on the track one time. Joel Friday here. Check. Look, stand up. We got fighting to do. We gotta show him who boss. He put a Viking in you. He put that lightning in you, igniting the truth. But you beg and blame and lie and hate and never wanna stand for the truth. So what you planning to do? You understand in the lose. You better go talk to your mama. Better stop at the drama. Better drop all the trauma. Boy, you better stand up and up. Put your hand up and hut. Cause if you don't, then we lose. And then we gotta hear the fake news. Whoa.
you must know that so you get something went wrong, but face the truth about yourself and just seek first God's kingdom, cause so you get something went wrong, but face the truth about yourself and just seek first God's kingdom, cause I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way.
So, here's what I recommend. I invite you to download my silent prayer, and I want you to start doing it. You just download it, get the points of how to do it, and then after a while, you just do it on your own. It's going to point you in the right direction that your life will be returned to you from God. He will give you your life back, because anyone and all people who has anger, they're not themselves. You are the person that you are angry at. That's why it's so important to get to know yourself so that you can see who you're angry at. And if you're doing the hooping and hollering prayers and things like that, some people get up, oh, praise the Lord, hoop and holler, bless my mama, bless my daddy. Continue to do it. Do both. You will see if you want to stay with the hooping and hollering or do you want to be still and know God. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church. I noticed after a while that when these guys overcome their anger, they have amazing ideas about starting a business, but because they've been told that if you don't get a loan from the bank, or if you don't have a 5-year plan, or if you don't do this, and it's just simply not true, it's the first step. With faith, then all things are possible. So, but the most important thing is to return to the Father. That yearning that you have, that emptiness, that void, is not for more stuff. It's not for more friends. It is a return to the Father, because there's no way you can return to God and be angry at your earthly father. So thank you all so much, right? People around the world donated to Bond at rebuildingtheman.com, or they call 800-411-2663, and we're still committed to pointing the right way for men and women to return to the Father.